Yep, bip up. Welcome everyone to the Film Vault. That is Anderson. I'm Brian Bishop, your host for today. A re-up of a classic episode. Not a re-up, but we're going to update the list live in real time for top 5 ensemble casts. Why? Well, it's been over 10 years since we last did this in 2012, and also the Oscars in their wisdom added a best casting by category starting in 2026. And in honor of this announcement, we decided to re-up and update a list that needs updating because there are a lot of great ensemble casts out there.
Yeah, it's a quality idea, which is strange because it came from you. I'm surprised and shocked and happy, Brian. You actually pulled your weight this week, and I enjoy that.
I thought to myself, what would Anderson do in this scenario?
So is that what it was?
Yes, ultimately to you. Congratulations.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, so it's going to be, I looked at my last list from over 10 years. Do you have the date on when we did that? I don't remember.
I believe I do. It is, hold please, March of 2012.
March of 2012. Yeah, so that is a long time ago. What's going on?
Just about 12 years ago, yeah.
Sorry, we're doing the show live on tape. Remote is for a second week in a row. We don't like to do this, right, guys? But it's not ideal. But Avery's got something going on at 11, so I'm going to blame it all on Avery.
That's fine.
Even though it has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with me dealing with real life stuff. I got a roofer who's scheduled because we're in between two large storms right now. It's the eye between storms.
Is there more? Is there more coming?
We just had the atmospheric river that rolled through here. It was like 5-6 days of straight nonstop rain, and then
yes, Avery, there was more coming.
My roof was leaking the entire time. Let me steamrolling. My relief was leaking the entire time I was up in the attic and on the roof and on the attic and on the roof, and my neighbors were feeling bad for me and concerned for me. I found out once the storm passed, and I identified the leak. But long story short, I have a roofer, but he's very busy, and he was supposed to be here at 8:30. Long story short, he will be here while we're recording this because there is a new, like a 5-day system moving in that will be here this weekend.
They're just peeking out of their dry houses going, I hope that crazy man's okay.
Yeah, my neighbor next door, who I never really even met, like she saw me on the roof taking all the tarp down and stuff. Because I put the tarp up, but a lot of the time what happens is where you identify the leak in the attic is not actually where the leak's coming from. It's coming from somewhere and then going in. So I had this giant tarp with literally like 30 bricks on top of it. It was a huge undertaking, and it was all for naught because I go back up there after the tarp work's done. I feel like a man. I'm like, let me go see the fruits of my labor. And it's like the leak's actually worse. I'm like, oh no. So I found out where it is now, but I still would rather a professional try and patch it.
Do you have your list, Anderson, from 2012 for your original ensemble cast?
Yeah, and I mixed it in. And I'm not happy with my list at all. So I do it the way that I do this, Brian, I think is I'll take my list from the last time and then I'll add the new ones in and I'll round it out so that there's 10. So I have 10 and some of the old ones are still in there. Some of them, my number 1 from last time, Brian, from 2011, isn't even in my top 10 anymore because I've changed my thought process.
How interesting. First of all, it's hilarious that we can't get on board to do the same thing. Secondly,
that you don't do it right.
Secondly, I looked at my list, and 12 years later, I was so delighted with my number 1. Again, I was like, I almost dislocated my shoulder, patting myself in the back for what I thought was a very, very solid number 1.
Our existences are so different. I mean, just the idea of being proud of myself ever to the point where I would actually say it out loud, it makes me feel icky.
From the heavens.
And you're just constantly just like walking around with a giant heart on for yourself.
Yeah, I'm broadcasting from the leaky rooftops.
Smugly preening. I got a couple quick, actually, two exciting announcements. One about another project that I'm doing.
So that Anderson is firing me.
Avery is no longer with us. So I'll start with the show one. All right. So Avery and Florence took it upon themselves to start poking around and get the ball rolling. And sometimes all it takes is a little nudge to get the ball rolling. About
like being publicly called out several times on this show on the bonus episodes
for a live show.
Yeah.
Were you publicly? I mean,
I think one of the countdowns, you're like, he hasn't done anything. He's just sitting around and fuck. All right, I'll do some producing.
Avery, please.
I didn't take it seriously. I just
went. You just texted Florence and were like, hey, we should do a live show.
No, she actually texted me. It was like, we should do a live show.
Yes.
No, well,
yes.
I agree. That's what I've been trumpeting.
And then I think they both texted me or Avery. Somebody texted me. Well, who was?
I think it was Florence. I think Florence, because I think you said you were going to reach out to your guy over at TCL and start kicking tires, and then I started to do some production on what this might actually look like.
Yeah,
were we to get this off the ground.
So Florence text Avery saying we should do a live show, and Avery said ditto, and then Florence sent me a text saying I think we should do a live show. And then I got in touch and I spoke with our buddy Tom over at TCL for a good.
How's Tom?
He's good. He's really good. And it sounds like it's all very doable. The next step has not been taken because it's because he thought it was going to be more immediate. But we're looking at sometime in the summer, and we will have a date. The goal is to have a date within the next couple of weeks, and we will have the second largest theater over there at the TCL. It's looking like this is not in stone yet, but it's looking like we're going to be in the same theater we were last time. Which is a nice, it's got 240 seats and
the famous Chinese theater. I mean, it's not the Chinese theater screen, but it's that whole complex there.
Yeah, it's the Chinese, what do they call it? The
TCL Chinese theater, I think.
The Chinese 6 is like the, it's like attached. It's
all
the same, it's the same complex, and it's over there at Hollywood and Hellland. And parking is there. It costs money, but I mean, it's somewhat, I don't want to stretch and say it's convenient because it's not, but it's in the middle.
You're already downselling our live event that has not been announced or
that has no firm details.
It's expensive.
It's not a convenient. It's not a convenient location to get to. I mean, it's a giant outdoor.
It's right in the middle of the goddamn city. It's a tourist haven. Yeah, most people are going to Uber anyway.
Okay, Avery, can you explain to Brian and everyone else listening that it is called Hollywood and Hellland for a reason? Because it's very, very. It's like
I like that you're advocating that I also jump on the bandwagon of trashing.
No, don't drag it.
I just want everyone to know that it's
Avery. Also, go out of your way to not sell the event.
It's going to be great.
How bad it's going to be.
It's going to be great. It was great last time. It's going to be great. I just want to give people people who live here or people who don't live here. If you don't live here, I think it's definitely worth your time to come out because, it's like one of the stops that everyone has to do when they come to LA.
It's near the Egyptian, right? And they just redid the Egyptian. The Egyptian's tight.
You see all that stuff. Yeah, you can see all that stuff. It's all right there. It's all within, maybe 2 hours of driving and it's or maybe an hour of walk.
What are you talking about?
2 hours of driving. You can do the Egyptian, the El Capitan, the Chinese theater, and 2 hours driving, or you could walk it in about a half hour, probably.
Yeah.
We couldn't pick a more central location aside from maybe downtown where no one goes.
But I think a lot of
couldn't be. This is Hollywood Highland, man. This is where the Oscars happen.
A lot, yeah. It's where the Oscars happen. It's where a lot of people, LA come. They come. Every summer people like to travel. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about traveling to LA, we will have dates and hopefully you can line them up with your travel with your family and get out. Don't bring the family, but maybe you can sneak away, that kind of
or bring them and send them to the Roosevelt or something, or I don't know, Hooters.
Right across the street is a world famous Roosevelt. It's great. You could stay there. I stayed there with Jillian for an anniversary one year. It was lovely.
There's a lot around there. There's Kimmel's Theater. There's the El Capitan for the kids. There's
there's some cool bars over there too.
I wouldn't know. I mean, 25 Degrees is a great burger joint. I mean, there's lots of good stuff.
That's in the belly of the Roosevelt. Bill Cosby's Stars right across the street in front of Hooters.
Oh.
I don't know if they've unearthed that, brought that up, but that is a real thing. I remember stumbling across that. So yeah, that's in the works. We're probably leaning towards June, July, or August.
Can I tell you the most fucking surreal Hollywood? I talked about this on the Bryan and Anderson show a year ago for LA Magazine, but the most surreal celebrity encounter / Hollywood moment of my life, and possibly, I don't know if anyone can top this. I'm all ears, but we're going to the Pantages. It was like a year ago or so to see on a Lion King, I think it was, with Tessa and Grandma and Christy, and all four of us are walking up to Hollywood and Vine right there.
So far, I'm very bored.
On Fantages Theater. And we're passing stars, literally like, stars on the ground, the Walk of Fame. And I'm pointing out Tessa, know anyone is. Every once in a while, I'm like, oh, they're in a Disney movie or something, but it's few and far between. And we walk right there at Hollywood and Vine. We walk over Henry Winkler star. Well, one of the names I recognize, but yeah, Henry Winkler, big star. And we walk in to the Pantages, we're walking, milling about. All the people are in the lobby. Henry Winkler is there. I walked right past the man.
Saw that coming, Brian.
That is fucking weird.
Here's a better version of that story is you say, hey, honey, Tessa, so he was really famous. Like when I was a kid growing up, he played this character called the Fonz. And she's like, I have no idea who that is. And you're like, I'll show you one day. And then 30 seconds later, you walk in, you're like, there he is right there.
Yeah,
Henry
so I
Winkler
said to
overhears
Tessa-
and goes, "It's me."
That's
Yeah.
right. I said, if only we could see one of these
Hey.
luminaries. And lo and
Hey.
behold,
Hey. All right. A very good story, Brian. Could have used some trimming.
that's what it's for.
All right. And
I
other
almost spit out my water.
other announcement. Loadedforbeardoc.com.
Oh my God.
Loadedforbeardoc.com. Here's the reason why, Brian.
Will this be like Church of the Life show where you're passing the basket down the aisles?
No. I just want to let people know that the opportunity is coming, and it will be going soon to have your name associated with a short, because the short is almost close to picture lock, and we still got to color correct it. We have to give it a score, which is being worked on right now by the great Rick Urban. Chad Ice is doing the final touches on the picture lock. We got to color correct it and then sound mix it, and we're looking at about 3 to 4 weeks before it is locked and finished and done. And if you would like to be associated with this, and you would like to have your name on this as well as the documentary, it is time. It is time to give some hard-earned cash that is tax deductible, most likely. And you go over to loadedforbeardoc.com. I'm already hearing back from people who gave last year, and it is definitely helping on their taxes. So
especially if you're seeing your taxes this year and you're going, "Oh Jesus, need a little help." Loaded for Bear.
Right. Get ahead for next year.
But I'm just saying,
what if the cash is not hard earned? What if they inherited it or just
good,
found it?
Very good. But I'm just giving everyone the heads up that Loaded for Bear, the short, will be completed and cemented and finished, and have all the names associated thus far locked in, IMDb as well. So if you'd like to have your name on the film, that's going to be playing at festivals and as well as on IMDb. Now we have about 3 to 4 weeks to make that happen. So loadedforbeardoc.com, and yes, it's for a very good cause. Believe me when I tell you that. I was actually just with a lot of our actors over at the Elks Club last week. That was a whole lot of fun. They party at the Elks Club about once a month, and one of them's the DJ Otto, and it gets kind of nuts. There's no drinking. Even some of the parents are having a few drinks, but the later it goes into the night, the harder the Born to Act players party and get looser and less inhibited, and the singing and the dancing, and it was really a fun experience over the Elks Lodge in Van Nuys. So
nice.
Love that.
Two questions. One, how much is it going to take to not have your name associated with the film?
It's a very clever, hilarious show.
Two, what is the minimum contribution or donation it would take to get on there?
$100, I believe.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Pricing everyone out.
Mm-hmm. Any contribution helps, and check with your employer. Maybe they match. A lot of them have matches, which is a huge help. We have had a number of matches that have really helped us the production to this point. It's expensive. It costs a lot of money for the equipment, for the time, paying Mike Carano, paying editors. Like the short sucked up $50,000 in the money that we brought in. So it would really help. So
in all seriousness, I know you're paying Anderson up till a certain point. You can call him a lot of favors and say, hey man, if there's money in this at some point, we'll get you back, I promise. But at a certain point, there's hard costs, right? Editing and, like you said, color correcting, sound, just stuff. There's no way around it. You can't. There's only so many favors you can call in, and at a certain point, you got to pay for things.
Exactly. And
you'd like to pay for things the entire way, but
for sure.
And as much as independent, film needs to be done on, duct tape and bubble gum.
This short looks really good too. And speaking of favors, I hated to do it, but I called in as many favors as I possibly could. And we had people working for free or for like a couple $100. And these are professionals. It was during the strike. And these are usually really high paid professionals, like $1,500, $2,000 a day. And they were doing it for like $100. Some of them were doing it for free. So while this short costs $50,000, just under, it would have probably cost more like 200 if we, and that's no joke. We did the math.
Wow.
Sort of 200 if we paid for everything. It was a 1-day shoot, which is insane. But I mean, these things add up when you have professional crews going, and it's SAG after.
Well, at least you had donuts.
We did have some. You were there. Yeah, we had some donuts.
I brought the donuts.
Oh, that's right. Okay, of course.
That's right. I was self-aggrandizing as always.
Yes. All right. Hey, I don't know. We've wasted way too much time considering the quality of films that at least I'm bringing to the program. I would imagine you're going to have some good stuff too. I know you took one for the team and watched a documentary that I have no interest in ever watching because I just don't have the stomach for it. I can't do it.
I saw a documentary that may have set a new bar for lowness on the fun scale. It was tough.
And the name of that one is, Brian?
20 Days in Mariupol.
And that's up for-
Nominated for an Oscar, nominated for Best Documentary at this year's Oscars. And oh man, it's gonna be, if you're a completionist like me and you want to see all the Oscar movies, I did this. I strategically reversed my thinking. Normally, I just, when the Oscar movies come out, the ones that I haven't seen, I kind of gravitate towards, oh, what do I want to watch? And then by the end, I'm stuck with the 20 Days and Mariupols of the world. And it's like, Jesus Christ. So this time I'm front loading with the heavy movies. And well, here we are. Sorry, Anderson stepped away. Perhaps his roofer is there. Perhaps not.
And maybe, but I saw a smaller foreign film that is higher on the fun scale.
Oh, then not smaller than mine, just smaller in terms of normal.
Yeah, in terms of probably the footprint it's getting out there in the presses in the papers.
Oh, really?
I'm not even sure if it's still in theaters anymore.
Can you tell us
Promised Land?
Oh, The Promised Land, a little Mads Mikkelsen.
Hell yes. That's technically a 2024 movie, so I didn't put it top the list. This is my favorite time of year for watching movies. No joke. Starting December and then into like through January, and for whatever reason, it's kind of leaking into February this year. Usually, I'm more caught up by this point, but maybe it's the breadth of movies and the amount of movies. But this is where I catch up with movies that slipped through the cracks in 2023 to make sure that I'm all prepped and ready for the Vaulties before the Oscars. And I'm only watching, for the most part, very, very quality films. Now, 20 Days in Mariupol, I know it's probably quality, and you're probably seeing atrocities that can only be seen.
It's powerful. It's very good.
Either in person or with a movie. But in reading about it, I don't know if I can stomach that. And I probably should. I should probably just buck up and say, you know what, at least this isn't happening to you. You should know more about the world. I don't know if I'm in a place where I can put my mind there. About the not only do they blur the humans that are all fucked up, but there's also all sorts of like animals strewn about. I don't know if I can do it.
I will share with you the details soon, but I will say that it is the comp which you would not expect is the Iron Claw, in the sense that how much tragedy can they squeeze into an hour and 22 minutes or whatever it is? I'm watching this movie like, Jesus Christ, it's just getting worse.
Here's a little pre-fliction for next week, which is very, very hardcore as well, but it's not a documentary. So, and it's also somewhat of a musical, but a movie that I saw will not be flickfesting this week, but it's up. You can rent it, and it's definitely in the running for the Vaulties for me. And it's a movie called Rebel. There's a number of movies called Rebel out there. Look for the 2023, or sometimes it's marked as 2022. It's a movie from last year, and it's from the guys that directed the most recent Bad Boys, but you would never guess that.
Bad Boys and Martin Lawrence?
There is some, the most recent one. There is some high action in Rebel. There's also music video style stuff going on in Rebel, but it's the story of a couple brothers, or one brother who was radicalized during the Syrian war. He lives in Belgium, and he ends up finding his way over into Syria to help, and then he finds himself forced to be on one side that he wasn't planning on being on, and it is heart-wrenching. It is gripping. It's great. I will give a proper review of it next week. Rebel, but I recommend that Rebel if you have the stomach for violence, torture, and war.
Oh, fun. And speaking of movies that fell through the cracks, we have a signed film to talk about this week, just from last year.
Yes. We're going to be talking about a couple very fun movies, a couple of very fun films. Rye Lane is the one that Bryan is talking about. Dani Leffler, listener Dani Leffler, assigned us Rye Lane, which is a movie that is criminally been overlooked. It's a movie I would have probably never watched if it
much higher on the fun scale than Mariupol.
I'm also going to be talking about Nicole Holfenser's, I think I said that wrong, You Hurt My Feelings, which was #1 of my most anticipated Sundance movies last year. I think it was on #1. And then also a documentary called The Deepest Breath, which should absolutely be seen by more people.
I'm glad you brought up Sundance. This will be a Sundance-heavy episode, at least for me.
So we're waiting on Mitch, the Fanfliction. We don't have it yet because I forgot to inform him that we're recording early.
Oh, so no, he's retired.
In lieu of that, yeah, dude.
This is Mitch's last episode, I think, and it's unfortunate that we're recording early and he may not have got the word in time. So Mitch has done amazing work for the film for a number of years now, and he informed us last week that he needs to scale back and prioritize his time, which I absolutely understand. And sadly, he will no longer be doing the Fanfliction for us. random comments or anything else that he's been so great at doing for the show for the last number of years. So that's going to be a big hole. We're really going to miss Mitch. He's still, part of the family. He's still doing the film
Phil
vault.
Walters, yes, we'll continue.
But he's not.
So it's not scaling back that much.
Once a month he's gonna be doing the film Walters. I told him I'd be a guest finally on that show too. I've been pushing that back because I'm also trying to prioritize, not to say that film Walters isn't a priority, but we're gonna miss Mitch, and I think until we find a replacement for Mitch, I think we're gonna really notice it in the show, unfortunately.
And if you're interested in being Mitch like we had Miss Movies 2.0, if you want to be Mitch Burns 2.0,
he's
you're
actually
interested
2.0 himself. I'm drawing a Sean. Wow. I should know this, but it's been so long. There was a guy who did it before Mitch, and I used to talk to him. What the hell? That's
Logan Moy.
Nope. I think his name was Sean. Oh,
if you're interested,
you're still a listener, and I'm fucking you by not saying your name right now because you did great work for us. Sorry, my brain is soft.
Well, either way, if Andy fucked you on your credit, or if you'd like to get credit going forward as the new Mitch Burns, shoot us an email to contacttfv@gmail.com. That's contacttfv@gmail.com if you're interested in being a part of the show.
And shout out genuinely to Mitch Burns. Thank you for all you've done. A big part of the show. And man, we're going to miss having you be a part of the weekly show, but stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Please.
He did literally hours of work for our show every week, and it was deeply appreciated, and it's going to be sorely missed. All right. Always welcome to contribute to the show, Mitch. We'll always, you got weighted comments if you have something.
We're already feeling his absence because we have no fanfliction.
Yeah, so right. I don't know when you guys plan on bringing Promised Land to the program, but I could do a little quick flick fashion in lieu of Fanfliction.
Sure, hit us Promised Land because it's no longer in
worse.
theaters. It's no longer in theaters, and I was going to try and catch it as well. I really want to see the new Mads Mikkelsen movie. Why don't you let us know what we can expect once it starts streaming somewhere, if it pops back up in theaters, which is very unlikely.
Yes, so it is Mads Mikkelsen. It is a Western. It is a Danish Western, which I bet you haven't seen that before. It was some of your standard Western goodness of a hardworking man, a man who's been wronged by the world, has tried to pay his way up. He's a bastard. So the working title of the Promised Land in Danish, I guess, was Bastarden.
Oh,
which
nice.
I really enjoyed that.
Much better.
So he's a military man who's just retired after 25 years of service to his country. He's lowborn as Bastarden, and we'll let you know he was a bastard-born man of his mom was working as a maid, and his father, who never considered him as his son, was a lord in his own right, had his own land, cast him aside, and sent him off to the military to die in whichever manner he saw fit. But he thrived.
We should point out this is up for Best International Feature at this year's Oscars.
Yes. So
it is. I thought it was a 2024 release because it didn't get released in the United States.
2023.
What the hell?
So bring it to the program.
Great regret for not going to have seen it. My pool.
Apparently, its world premiere was August of 23.
So the Danish king has his pet project is this not very arable land. It's beautiful. It's sort of like if somebody wanted you to cultivate not Death Valley, but like Joshua Tree. If let's say the king of California loved Joshua Tree and wanted you to grow some produce out there, everyone's going, that can't be done. We tried it. But Mads Mikkelsen says, I can do it. It can be done.
I can aerate.
I will tame this land, and in exchange, I will have my own little castle and be my own lord. And they go, fuck off. Go try it. We'll just tell the king we have some dipshit out there trying, and that'll get us off our backs. Turns out there's already a lord in his own right out there who thinks this land belongs to him and not the king. He is really one of those punchable characters, a villain that you love to hate. Younger man, probably in his late 20s, early 30s, who tries to buy out Mads. Mads is not having it, and he's not pleased. And it sort of goes from there. Mads is trying to tame this land as the underdog, and the Lord will go to any length to ensure this does not happen and that he maintains what is his. It goes in a lot of ways, much like the last round, where a lot of things that would not be shown in an Americanized version of this, which feels much more realistic, much more complicated, nuanced. It's not hard to watch. Some of it is sad, some of it is heartbreaking. But the action is great, and it really feels like an interesting European Danish take on some of those standard Western tropes. And just seeing the plains of Denmark and the heath, as they call it, would highly recommend it. It was 2 hours and 7 minutes. and it pulls no punches.
Where did you see this?
I saw this in theaters at AMC. Very, very interesting look at a world you might not have seen otherwise. I think it takes place in the 1500s. So, and this is also based on a true story, which adds some intrigue as well. So, I would highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. It's currently sitting at 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. And if you love Mads Mikkelsen, there is a lot to enjoy here. And also Asinine Now. This was the movie that Mads Mikkelsen was getting criticized for by some stupid journalist who went, "How come there's no people of color in this film?" Blah, blah, blah. He went, "Well, it's a Danish production, the historical production of the 1500s." And after having seen this, it's very stupid because this is a very feminist film and race is a huge theme in this, and the cost of racism and undoing it. And so ridiculous that this is being accused of being a sort of whitewashed
so it's a woke
man film. Very well done, very enjoyable. So I would say, yeah, definitely check out The Promised Land with Mads Mikkelsen if and when you can.
While Avery was talking there, my mind was drifting to other things. And one thing I was thinking about, Anderson, was in terms of like this being a deep year for movies. Remember Sisu? Remember how much fun that movie was?
Yes.
It's not even going to make our top 5 or 10 of the year.
Was that this year? I think that was last year. I think that was like 2022.
So this shares a little DNA with Sisu.
This would be like what I said.
This would be like if Sisu was sort of played straight as a Western. So a lot more drama, less Tarantino. But you get some of those vibes and aesthetics to it. It was definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, Sisu came out in 2022.
I knew it.
Did it? No.
Maybe
not out here.
In April 2023 for the
No, that's what I'm saying. We saw it earlier last year.
God, it was a 2023. Yeah,
Anderson is not of his pulse on the Danish films.
Son of a I can't believe that was only like 8 months ago.
But that's my point. Like, does Sisu even crack the Vaulties?
It was playing at the PFF spring.
No one cares.
In April of 2023, it was still like doing its festival run in April.
Mm-hmm.
Came out in Singapore April 28th, though.
Here we go.
that's how everyone sets their calendar.
Right.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for bringing a relevant film to the program. Make sure you put that in the title there of the week's episode. That'll help greatly. Thank you, Avery. I don't know why the pregnant pause. Now it's time to move on for other movies. Brian, where do you want to start?
You are quite welcome to fill that pregnant pause. You're quite welcome.
Oh, where do I start? I might as well start.
Do we go from least fun to most fun to?
I was going to say, let me start at the bottom of the fun scale because 20 Days in Mariupol is a very good movie and worthy of an Oscar nomination. It's just really tough. Directed by Mstislav. There's a lot of vowels in there where there should be, a lot of consonants where there should be vowels. Mstislav Chernov. This is 2023 film, as you can imagine. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Anderson, the price to rent and buy this on Prime was the same. So I went and bought. I'm now the proud owner of 20 Days in Mariupol. I cannot imagine a film I'd be inclined to go back and watch less.
You counting the days till Tessa's old enough to watch this?
That's right. So you're going to stumble across
2023. Sisu came out in 2023. Shocking. That's shocking to me somehow. I don't know how, but it's shocking. Okay, sorry.
Mariupol, 20 Days in Mariupol is nominated for Best Documentary. It won the World Cinema Audience Award at Sundance last year. One of 3 films that played at Sundance in the last year or two that I'll be passing this week. So Mariupol, Anderson, is in Ukraine. It is 30 miles from Russia. It's a coastal town. It's very strategically important to both sides, the Russians who are invading and the Ukrainians who are attempting to defend their land, as they explained earlier in the film. I guess in a way you could maybe compare it to like maybe a San Diego. It's a coastal town, it's a military town, it's close to the border. So thus, this is a stronghold they would like, they being Ukraine and Russia, I guess, very much like to control. Yes, low on the fun scale.
We've heard
starts with a voluntary evacuation as the city becomes shelled by enemy troops, enemy fire, tanks, and warplanes and whatnot. Much of the action takes place in and around a hospital, and you can only imagine what goes on there. Here's where I acknowledge and completely apologize for my American centric sense of privilege and ignorance. But the entire fucking time I'm watching this movie, where children, young infants and children are dying in front of my very eyes on screen, and people are weeping because their kid got blown up by a warship or whatever, and they're bringing them to the hospital.
Or whatever.
Here I am, ignorant. Please, Anderson, I'm interested in your thoughts. Why stay? I understand it's your home. I totally get that. And there's the thing where it's my home, I'm staying here. But son of a bitch, this is a war zone, and there are like civilians just kind of hanging around. It's like, what is there to gain from staying?
I don't know. That sounds like a problem with the filmmaking. Like they should have explored that, because that is a large question. Who are we to say? I mean, so far removed from this, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't get it.
There's
Must be
good motivation, whether it's like neighbors, family, maybe they don't have anywhere to go. Maybe they're locked in. Maybe there's checkpoints and that are more dangerous than where they are. I don't know.
Perhaps they are showing a lot of people exiting, a mass exodus of the city, which makes sense. You know, trains overcrowded, et cetera, et cetera. There's people trying to get out of this war zone. But then there's and credit to the filmmakers, the access is incredible. It's a fly on the wall. You're seeing stuff that you only maybe will get at, like in the past would have gotten like a still image of, and you're seeing really raw, tough footage. Again, to their credit, it's astounding. I will say, speaking of things they maybe should have addressed or explained a little better, at one point, the city's under siege and the power is going out all the time and no one can charge their anything from devices to hospital equipment. And I'm watching this, I'm like, wow, they're like, everyone's huddled around this single generator trying to like get their phones up, trying to get a connection. And I'm like, wait, how are they filming this? Why are their cameras apparently working perfectly for 24 hours a day? So I assume they had some sort of generator system. Would have been nice to maybe address that, because there was a bit of a moment where I'm like, wait a minute, why are the cameras working? Be that as it may. Yes, it starts off rough and just gets worse. I mentioned a 4-year-old girl dies on a hospital gurney early in the film. There's a hospital with bodies of civilians just strewn about because the morgue is full. So the bodies have to be stacked in a utility closet. Eventually, start digging mass graves. A mother of a dead 18-month-old is shown wailing in the hallway as her 1.5-year-old infant, or toddler, I guess, is dying in the other room. Eventually, the town succumbs to looting for the people who are left. Again, why are they there? I would need some explanation, because now they're resorting to just breaking into, like,
Brian's takeaways. Don't these people know they can podcast from anywhere? You can podcast
I did acknowledge
you are.
The privilege and the position I'm asking from, but it does beg the question, and I'd like to know.
Yeah, you can't be the only one asking that question too.
And of course, by the end, they show the Russian propaganda machine claiming that these are all crisis actors and all pretending, and it's like, oh, I just watched a fucking infant die as it was delivered from his mother's womb. So I don't know how they got that casting notice out, but good for them. It's a tough movie. It's good. It's really compelling, but it's an effort. The end.
Well, thank you for watching this for us, Brian. I can't imagine that I will, and that's just because I'm an emotional coward in situations like this. And I also,
if this were to win Best Documentary, would you then be compelled to see it?
No, because Citizen 4 or whatever did, and I despise that movie with Snowden.
It was pretty lame.
Yeah, so if there's anything I can, this sounds so callous, but if there's anything I can learn as a filmmaker, perhaps I would watch it. But it doesn't sound like it's that. It's more like this is one of these documentaries that they're literally risking their lives to show you what atrocities are occurring, and I I beat myself up so badly while watching these, and I also kind of start to dip into like, maybe I should be doing something. Maybe I am living life completely wrong, and maybe I should not be, worrying about the leak in my roof. It's so frivolous, and maybe I should pick up
Yeah, it
and
must be nice to have a roof.
it makes me feel completely like as part of the problem, and I get so passionate about things, Brian, that I mean I do see a world where if I'm still around and Atticus is off to school and he's out of the house and I can go like work for UNICEF or something, like that's definitely a direction I could find myself in. And I don't know if I should start to radicalize myself this when I have obligations here at home, but the fact that I haven't done anything like that to this point, it makes me really ashamed. And
You're the Pat Tillman of podcasting.
I don't need to watch movies like this that just remind me of what a piece of shit I am.
I mean, you spent 20 years working with special needs kids, so I think you're doing more
They have older
than a
limbs.
lot of people.
They have all. I mean, it's not like boots on the ground stuff. I'm enjoying that kind of work. I don't know if I'd enjoy.
Well, wait a minute. You volunteered at a camp where kids are missing body parts.
That is true, but I enjoy.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's totally joyous. That I have not done anything that would risk my own life and not be joyous and heart. Yeah. So I feel like I have not done nearly enough. I've taken way more than I've given, and the movie, when I watch movies like this, it just makes me feel even more like that. So,
Oh, good. Well, look forward to this when it comes to theater review.
all right, there's a movie that I saw, and hey, watch this. This doesn't happen very often. I'm like, should I say this? Okay.
You should.
I was in bed with the wife the other night.
All right. That was getting hot. Put the E tag on this episode, Avery.
Yeah, honey, you ready to get Rogered?
Oh, boy.
No, I didn't say that. I just wanted an excuse to say Roger. I
Top
like
five pillow, top five pillow talk scenes.
That's
when
right.
when you say Roger and the wife. I got that from the old Clarence, Leslie Clarence, Claret over there on Patriot. He escaped from prison and he went home and Roger the wife. All right, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. So I'm in bed with the wife a couple nights ago, not like last week sometime, and we're trying to find something to watch. And I go to Netflix, the documentary section, because I know that that's pretty much all we can watch. I went through 12 documentaries or documentary series, and this is what I heard every single time, Brian and Avery, from my wife. Seen it, pretty good. Seen it, not too good. When I'm at work, when I'm doing. She watches every goddamn documentary available.
When you're up on the roof rearranging bricks,
she should have her own film podcast.
So we came across one that I was familiar with and didn't know as much as I wanted to know about it, other than I thought it was going to upset me. And that is called The Deepest Breath, about free diving. And she said, saw it, really good. I think you really like it. And boy, was she correct. The Deepest Breath came out in 2023. It's directed by Laura McGann, and it is primarily about a Italian diver, free diver. Are you guys familiar with the free diving phenomena or sport?
I am, because I had 90 minutes free before going to a comedy show. Needed to decompress, pardon the pun, and I saw Uncle Andy was going to be flick-fasting this film, and I dove in.
You want to hop on?
Dove in.
I'll hop in.
Yeah, because this one is very good, and we got to be careful because the filmmakers are very, very smart in not tipping their hat to what actually happens. All you know is there's tragedy afoot, there's tragedy abound. It's coming your way, but we don't know how or why, and it is an absolute reveal by the end on what actually happened. So free diving is a sport. It's a world recognized sport. There's world records, as you'd imagine. Luc Besson made a movie, The Deepest Blue, I think it was called, back in the 90s, which I remember seeing and liking, even though it was a little bit slow. But it's about these crazy motherfuckers. It's kind of along the same lines as Free Solo. Did you get the?
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. That it definitely shares a lot of DNA with that. It's sort of like the polar opposite. It's the same thing where you're doing something without that safety net. But in the opposite direction. They're going down, and Free Solo, you're going up.
Right. So you can fall off the cliff without a rope and die. And here you can sink to the bottom of the ocean without a breath and die. So they try and go as deep as they can possibly go. And the world records eclipse 100 meters, usually just over 100 meters. And they have to go down. And the first 30 meters, they're actually pulling themselves down with no tanks, obviously, with just big fins on their feet. And they'll they'll decide like, hey, I want to go for 101 meters, which is equivalent of like, over 300 feet deep. As a scuba diver, I've never gone more than 120 feet deep. That's as deepest as I've gone as a scuba diver. So these people are going triple the distance that I've gone with tanks. And one of the things about it, so they'll suggest, okay, I want to go for the 101 meters, and then they'll set it up with a rope down there, and they'll put tags on it. So all they have to do is get down to the 101 meters, grab the tag, because no one else is down there at that depth. It's dark as can be, 300 feet, and no sunlight. And they're down there by themselves. There's no safety divers down there. It's just them. So they got to grab a tag to prove that they actually made it. And then they start the ascent. And watch, it opens up.
And that's where the hard part begins.
And that's where it really, so after the first 30 feet going down, it's really interesting. The pressure gets so great that they now start free diving, where they're not even kicking to get down or using the rope. They are just sinking like a rock.
It's immersion.
And they say it feels like you're flying. Yeah.
She talks about how that's her favorite part, because she feels like she's flying and she's completely, free. And that's, I'm sorry, Natalia is
Alessia.
Yes, thank you. So it's mainly her story. So like Avery was suggesting, once they grab the tag, then they start going up, and it's all about making it to the top before literally passing out from lack of oxygen. Your brain starts to shut down, and that's what this sport is, and it's death defying. And people,
it's an endurance sport in a way.
Yes, because they also do it in a pool, which is interesting. So a lot of these people have records doing this in like an Olympic-sized swimming pool of, the record for longest distance covered with one breath.
But that's not death defying, because I mean they're in a pool.
No, it's not. But they're also kind of making their bread and butter that way as well. But that's another aspect of the sport, but it's not as nearly as death defying.
And what they didn't get into is like the difference between male divers and female divers. And I'm led to believe that
the men are going down pretty far. The men are going down farther. Yeah.
Are there? Because I wasn't sure. I'm like, are women better at this? Are they more equipped? Because they never talked about the male, which was smart, I guess, because that's not about that. It's about
I looked it up at the end. The woman they discussed, not the protagonist.
If we're going to handle the women being part of this movie.
No. So I have to besmirch. But the protagonist is not who I'm talking about. The woman the protagonist is looking up to is still the most celebrated in the entire sport, because she has 40 world records. But the record for, I think, deepest dive and that sort of thing is held by a man.
Okay.
And it's something like 224 meters. Something
no
insane.
way.
Thank God.
It is. It's insane.
Doubled. So anyways, it's about this very, very intense, driven woman name. She's got a tough name. What's her name?
Alessia Zecchini.
Yeah, Zucchini. And we're seeing archival footage. We're hearing from her dad, and she
starts at 13.
She's not a part of this documentary, and
sink or swim.
And it's just kind of following her journey in being the best. And she wants to be the best in the world. She's exceptionally driven, and she's just natural, and she's constantly pushing the limit. They have this one thing that you learn about called lung squeeze, Brian, where you go so deep and the pressure is so great that your lungs get squished, like they're the size of a fist by the time you get down to your level, and they can have permanent scarring and damage and bleeding, and you can tell by coughing up blood. And there are some athletes who lie. And they lie and they say, no, I don't have it. They spend time in Egypt. They spend time in the Bahamas. It's a beautiful film. It's a edge of your seat film at times. It
starts off. So it starts off too with basically an entire sequence of her free diving. So going all the way down, going all the way up. And what we find out is a failed attempt, because they have rescue divers who start at 30 meters and go all the way up. And when you see a full failed attempt, where you see her sort of signal for help, they rush you, cover your mouth and nose so you don't inhale water, take you to the surface. And it is jarring when you see it, because her eyes are bugging out of her head. It looks like she's convulsing, and you're wondering, am I about to watch this woman die? Because you have no context at this point.
I wasn't sure if I just watched a woman die. Like, I thought they opened the movie up by showing me somebody who dies on film. I'm not sure if I signed up for this.
And that's the cold open.
And it's really interesting too, because scuba divers, they're breathing in through the regulator and they're getting the oxygen in their lungs. And if you go up too fast, that's the biggest mistake you can make as a scuba diver, is going up too fast, and your lungs literally explode. I've seen pictures where the chest is all like spider webbed from just the expansion, because it expands, the air expands in your lungs. So you have to, the most important and simplest thing to do as a scuba diver is just go up very slow, and you stop in increments. So
it's also why scuba divers can't save them.
They're of no help. They're of no help here, because they can't go up fast. And these people in the end, because obviously they're pushing the limits and they know what their limits are, and they can at one point, like, she's like maybe 10 feet from the surface, and then her body just gives
Well, they
out.
say that's where most of it happens, is the last 10 meters.
It's very sad and scary and really, really well done. And this is just a quality documentary. I've not seen all 5 of the documentaries that are up, but this is the type of movie where it's like, why isn't this up for best documentary? It was fantastic. And that's about all I want to say about that one.
Yeah, and it is gripping, it is compelling, and you do have this sort of morbid pall cast over it, because you know something is going to happen, but you don't know about it. But I think you didn't mention the other main character who
Yes, the other main character, Stephen from Ireland.
Yes, and he basically is the most accomplished rescue diver. So he's like, because we won't get too much into his journey, but quickly on, he has one of those blackouts where he nearly dies, because initially he's just a free diver. He breaks the Irish record, and he goes, "I'm going to dedicate my life to being the best, rescue diver, and make my own school in the most dangerous diving spot that's claimed over 100 lives, where." It's sort of like the diving equivalent of El Capitan, where you have to dive into this pitch black hole, and then about 100 meters down or 80 meters down, then you have to go swim through this archway for 30 meters horizontally, and then swim up on the other end, where normally you're just going up and down. So no one can rescue you down there. If you miss the arch or get disoriented, you die. And they've got a woman in the film who's part of the team and goes, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend a couple weeks after moving here died trying to attempt it."
And they have like little plaques for all the people that have died at the arch. It's it's following Stephen and his journey separate from Zucchini's story. And these are, free spirits. These are people that don't think like, most people, like having a 9 to 5 or working in an office would never even occurs to these people. Stephen is looking for something. He didn't seem like he had a normal, nice upbringing. His dad seemed really well adjusted and good. And Stephen's just out there, traveling the world as much as he can, living, like off the land, going to Africa and getting like almost killed with, civil unrest in some of these places that he goes. And then he settles, like Avery said, in Egypt, running the most renowned safety dive school that there is in the world. And we know that he and Zucchini are going to line up at some point, because we hear that they are together at some point. So we see their stories individually, and we know that they're going to cross at one point, which it ultimately does. It's a very, very well told, well executed, well constructed documentary that I absolutely recommend. It's like you'll find yourself holding your breath throughout.
Oh yeah.
Give me the name again. It's on Netflix.
It's not the greatest. It's not the greatest name. I keep forgetting the name.
It's The Deepest Breath.
Which there's better named documentaries out there.
I love the logo for his dive school, and those hats are tight. I was thinking about getting one of those. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
He's very likable. I can't say that she's exceptionally likable, but you respect her.
Yes, and you get why he likes her.
Yeah. So yeah, that's The Deepest Breath. Huge recommend from myself, and I believe Avery as well.
Yeah, it was. It's certainly not a boring watch.
No.
Nice. All right, very good. Can I move on to what in normal weeks would be my the most high movie in the fun scale?
Should we take a quick break, Anderson?
Yes. Time to take a quick break, Brian. We'll get right back to your what would normally be the most fun of the week.
Let's do it. Welcome back. Time to flick fast another film. Like I said, there would normally be, I can't see this being beat on the fun scale, but here we are. So still fun, still good. High on my Sundance preview list from this year, the first film I've seen from Sundance, and it is, of course, The Greatest Night in Pop, directed by Bao Nguyen, director of Live from New York and director of Be Water, the Bruce Lee documentary. 2024 film featuring interviews with and archival footage of many stars of music from 1985. And we see updated interviews with Lionel Richie, archival footage, of course, of Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Quincy Jones, modern day Bruce Springsteen, Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, Kenny Loggins, Smokey Robinson, Dionne Warwick, and Sheila E. is also interviewed.
Ensemble Casts, Brian.
And how that is literally scratching the surface of the stars that are in this. Everyone from Bob Dylan to Waylon Jennings to Madonna's featured. She's not in it. That's part of the plot. Like, why wasn't Madonna there? Why wasn't Prince there? I'll get into that in a second. 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is streaming on Netflix, and it was on my Sundance preview from this year. So what I did not realize is
So we've heard.
very smart. So this is USA for Africa, and they are trying to raise a bunch of money for the famine in Ethiopia in the mid 1980s, and they're looking at the Live Aid or whatever it was. The Do They Know It's Christmas? They're like, we should do a version of this, but like for Americans, for American artists, and they got together. As you can imagine, it was Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Lionel Richie, and Quincy Jones, who are sort of the heart of this thing. And they had a Motown background, of course. So there's a lot of Motown artists, a lot of legendary Black artists. Ray Charles was there. It all started there and got this whole momentum going, became a whole thing. They tied it to the AMAs, the American Music Awards, was smart because how do you get all of these world famous people in the same room at the same time? They're like, hey, the AMAs are going to be this date. When the show's over, let's get everyone in the studio and record this song. Quite the effort. And I can't believe I'm saying this because I am often, usually, almost always hankering for documentaries like this to not be 2 or 3 parts, but instead be one tight narrative, which this is. Could have used a bit more. Could have used a bit more at the top of like the recruiting process that was kind of blown over. And I imagine that they do allude to it. It is like sort of a C story, how like, for example, Prince, who was a huge star at the time, didn't show up. I think there was a little bit of rivalry there with him, Michael Jackson, and Prince is just a mercurial guy anyway. So he wasn't going to show up, but it was like a lot of will he, won't he. I could have used a lot more of that, of how hard it was or easy or whatever to get the talent lined up. So like who said no, who wasn't available, who took a lot of convincing, who I needed those stories. And listen,
Sure, there's a book, Brian. Hey,
I'm sure there is.
did they talk about the rumor of Prince doing a drive-by on Michael Jackson's house? Because that was a rumor that went around my elementary school, and that delights me still to this day.
That was not explained.
And you know what? Let's explore that for a second, because not that I'm some kind of genius by any far stretch, but I do, lean on my common sense. And back when I was in 4th grade or whatever, when this was circulating throughout my elementary school, I was one of the only people who said, guys, that's just not true. That's not a thing that's happening. And I can't tell you how many gullible fucks believed it. And look, here we are as adults, and gullible fucks are left and right, falling for every goddamn conspiracy thrown their way. What is that? What is that?
I'm with you. Is it pleasing in a way, Anderson, to be like holding on? I'm the same way. Years later, holding on to things where it's like, yeah, I was right about that, but time has moved on and no one cares.
I think I'm wrong about so many things. I do kind of clutch the ones that I'm right about.
Oh, I can see that.
No, but I mean, just as far as common sense goes, like, hey guys, no, Prince.
I'm trying to think of 2 Black artists at the time that would be less likely to be involved in a drive-by.
Engaged in violence.
It was that simple. It was just that there were 2 of the biggest Black artists, and racism came into it. But I went to a primarily Black school too, so it was, it wasn't like a bunch of like whiteys going around talking.
That's what's even stranger.
But I'm like, hey guys, they're very rich. I mean, if this were to happen, it wouldn't be Prince himself. I'm like, you're saying Prince is actually in the car? Like, I could see possibly him, doing a Nancy Kerrigan or a Tanya Hardin on Nancy Kerrigan.
The purple Rolls Royce shows up and is like, gotcha.
Now I can see Rick James pulling a heater.
Yeah, Rick James would do that.
I could see that if it was Rick James and James Brown in some sort of beat.
I was going to say James Brown. Great pull. That's right.
Neither of those 2 are represented in this movie. I would have liked to know why. But the movie is definitely in love with the excess in the sense that they have a treasure trove of archival footage. I mean, this thing was documented very well at the time. And so we get a lot of behind the scenes footage of artists interacting. You never know if they even met. And here we are, like, playing around and in the studio. That was cool. I could have used a little more, honestly. Honestly, Anderson, I know this isn't your type of movie. It's up my alley. That said, they could have used I don't believe, and if they did, it wasn't nearly enough. I don't believe they ever had the lower third of who was being shown in this old footage from '85, because
Give you a cheat
it's
sheet.
obvious when it's Springsteen or Michael Jackson or whoever, but like there were a handful of people where I'm like, I don't know who that is. It turns out they were like in the news from Huey Lewis in the news, or they were like one of the Jackson Five who wasn't Michael Jackson. I'm like, well, it would have been nice to know who the hell I'm looking at half the time. And also, again, Anderson, I don't know if you're aware of this. I am working on a documentary, so I'm very, very, very cognizant of the fact that this shit is hard and this shit like doesn't always go your way. That said, it feels like a real misstep, a real missed opportunity.
Oh, I'm making a documentary. I know how these things
No,
work.
I'm sure. No, not at all. I'm trying to say, listen, I know it's hard. I'm sure there were factors that were affecting this, and so for me to say this is rich, but no interviews with modern day Bette Midler, who was there in the footage. No interviews with modern day Billy Joel, who was in the footage.
Did they have any modern day interviews?
Tons. Springsteen, Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, Kenny Loggins, Smokey Robinson, Lionel Richie.
I didn't need to go down that road. I just wanted.
So that is the gestalt here. But here are two of the most loquacious, interesting, best talkers that exist in like our modern life, and Bette Midler and Billy Joel, like two amazing storytellers. I feel it's remiss not to have them in the movie in terms of like modern interviews. Now I understand maybe they said no, maybe their managers were like fuck off, never. But that said, you've got gold just over them there hills. You got to go mine it.
Okay.
Right.
The bizarre take on this movie, but you know, we approach movies differently, and like you already said, like this movie has zero. I'm a UK Invasion type kid, so I loved Band Aid and Live Aid, I should say, and Do They Know It's Christmas? I still love that song. I have like 3 LPs of it. I mean, 3 singles on vinyl of it.
Nice.
And I remember being a little kid getting that for Christmas too, and just like being so disturbed because the cover of the record is so disturbing with the little kids in Ethiopia with the flies everywhere. It was weird, you know, joyous Christmas, and then seeing this other part of the world. It's just, but yeah, that was hard hitting. I would never care to see Bob Geldof talking about putting it together. It's like a bunch of
Geldof shows up in this too.
People who got together and tried to make a difference for one day, and then they moved on with their rich, lavish lives. It's like,
well, the record did raise a lot of money.
Quick technical shit real quick. So I hop off for a second.
Yeah, you're breaking up too, like Max had
job stuff.
Max Freedom was there.
Do you need me to, if I leave and rejoin, will that mess up the recording, or how does that work?
No, it should be fine. I'm recording.
Okay, perfect. I should be back in a couple minutes.
Good luck on your interview.
I have seen Rye Lane, so if there's any way you could say that until like the last Flickfession and the off chance I'm back.
Perfect. Yes, I would love to talk Rye Lane.
I'm happy to talk a lot more about the Greatest Nine.
No, we're good. We're good.
All right, I'll make this quick and go get paid, and I'll be back.
Goodbye.
That said, Anderson, this feels like a very Mike Carano movie. I don't know that you would react the same way. I doubt you would very much. That said, it is interesting. I mean, you get to see like Kenny Rogers and Cyndi Lauper like hanging out, like palling around. So it's a very fun, interesting time capsule.
You're zero. Like I would not care at all. Like I could be walking down a street and somebody could say, hey, if it was actually them in person, I'd turn my head to the right and look. But if someone was holding a monitor and I was just walking down like a mundane, boring street, I don't think I'd bother to turn to look at the monitor to see
really?
Those two hanging out. I don't care at all. I would continue to look at the trash cans that are lining the street and continue to walk and look for birds and whatnot. I don't care about those two hanging out. Interest me zero.
This isn't for you. I understand
there's a lot of people who it would interest. So I'm not taking anything away.
But from a storytelling perspective, you can at least appreciate what like
the logistics behind it's kind of
like getting literally putting the band together and like who's got dynamics, who has a problem with who won't show up. That would have been kind of more. I need more of that.
Which song do you like more, We Are the World or Do They Know It's Christmas?
Do They Know It's Christmas?
Oh, good choice, Brian.
To be fair, I don't love either one, but We Are the World is neither here nor there. At least Do They Know It's Christmas is interesting.
only reason why I love Do They Know It's Christmas because I was such a ardent fan of Duran Duran when it came out, and they were involved. So of course I was all over it. But then that obviously led to other things and more awareness, which was, it was about raising money as well as raising awareness in the West. Not that going back to what I talked about earlier, I didn't do shit about it as a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old.
Well, you bought several copies of the album.
I did. That's true. So I guess I contributed maybe $3 or $4 towards the cause. And to hear them tell it, that's like 100 meals per dollar.
That's right.
Yes.
Sack of rice.
All right. You have 2 more movies. I have 2
just
more.
The Rye Lane. Just the Rye Lane.
Oh, you only have the Rye Lane. I would like Avery to talk about it with us, but you know what? If you can't, you can't. But I do have another movie to talk about before we get to Rye Lane, and that is a movie worthy of. I should say, The Deepest Breath is available on Netflix if you have that. And then what was the first movie we did?
We did the Mariupol.
Oh yeah. And where'd you see that? You rent that? You bought it?
I purchased. I'm the proud owner of that by Amazon Prime.
And then I saw Nicole Holofcener. It's that simple. It's Holofcener. Don't get all in your head about it, Cowan. It's just Nicole Holofcener. It's not that. She wrote and directed a movie called You Hurt My Feelings, which has a pretty decent cast, Brian. It stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus. You got David Cross and Amber Tamblyn in there, as well as a number of other people.
Great.
Michaela Watkins plays plays Julia Louis-Dreyfus's sister. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the older sister.
You're allowed to look this up before the show starts.
I'm looking at it right now, Brian. It still doesn't help me. Tobias Menzies plays Julia Louis-Dreyfus's husband. You might know him as Prince Philip in The Crown. You might recognize him. He plays a very, very different character in this one. And the basic story, the main family, I guess, it's following is Beth, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Dawn, played by Tobias Menzies, and their son, Elliot. It's an only child. He's growing, played by Owen Teague. And they're the straw that mixes the drink. There's a bunch of other characters that are surrounding them, and those other characters. So Beth, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is a writer. She plays a writer, and she's already written one book that was like a memoir that was pretty well received, and she's working on a fiction book for the first time ever. So that's the crux of the story. Her husband is a therapist. We see some cracks in the armor with his therapy. He's a middle-aged man, and he's realizing that maybe he's not a therapist he thought he was. He's getting a little complacent, and we're seeing him make mistakes, which are uncomfortable, where he's like talking to a woman, and she's talking about the kind of men she chooses, and he's like, well, have you thought about how this directly relates to your father, and maybe because he wasn't there for you? And she's like, you're talking about my dad? He was the sweetest, most kind man ever, and he was there for me every moment of my life. And he's like, oh, I'm confusing you with another another patient. And like very, very like it opens up actually with David Cross and his real life wife arguing on the couch. And it's Holofcener's writing really makes this movie sing and is very enjoyable, and it goes down very smooth, and it's very funny. There's a lot of little asides between Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her sister Michaela Watkins.
Stop saying Louis. It's Louis,
because I read bad, and I read right, and it's Louis, but there's an S there because the French got involved with her name somehow. So when you're talking about You Hurt My Feelings, like everyone has a very particular job, and they're not doing great at it. Michaela Watkins, she's an interior designer. She hates her job, and she works for very rich people who don't like the sconces that she goes out and finds for them. And she's having a bit of a midlife crisis as far as what she's chosen to do. Her husband is an actor who's definitely having a whole lot of second thoughts about his choice to be an actor. You might recognize him. I don't have his name in front of me, but he's in Succession. And there's this really funny bit about how he's obsessed with socks, and it's just really adept, smart, funny writing, and well acted, and it just goes down smooth. And ultimately, the main part of the story is that somebody, without giving anything away, somebody learns that their significant other thinks that what they're doing is really bad and not good professionally.
All right.
That's where the many people probably already know from the trailers and whatnot, but it comes down to like, who are you married to? What are they actually saying? Are they saying things that are dishonest? Or are they saying things to protect you? And do you ever really even know who your significant other is? And it goes down all those roads in a very cute is almost demeaning, but this movie is very cute. It's a quality cute. It's a very good movie, and I highly recommend. You Hurt My Feelings. I really enjoyed it.
Where can this be streamed or watched?
I was on one of the big ones. It's like, I think maybe I saw it on Paramount Plus. I think, I don't know. I should
Well
have
done.
as well. But yeah, that's, and in most weeks, like you said, Brian, in most weeks, You Hurt My Feelings would be number one on the fun scale because it is very fun.
Sounds fun. Sounds poppy.
Little things like this, like when the therapist is wrapping up with a Zoom call with one of his clients, played by Zach Cherry. And he hangs up, but he can hear Zach Cherry at the on the other end right before he hangs up, going, "It's fucking worthless," something along those lines. Or, guy's such a fucking idiot, talking about his therapist, and like, how does that make you feel as a therapist when you hear your own client saying this about you? Oh, it's good. It's good. There's
not an endorsement of your skills.
No, it's not. And I really, really enjoyed it. Now, of course, we know Nicole from Enough Said, which you and I both really liked from a few years ago. And Can You Ever Forgive Me? I didn't like it as much, but she also was brought on as the third writer on The Last Duel.
That's right.
I think that she probably had a lot to do with the parts that I liked in that Last Duel, especially from the female perspective. So enough said. And now You Hurt My Feelings are my two favorites that she's done. But she's got she's done a lot. She's got a lot under her belt, and I'm sure there's other gems out there that I'd like to catch up with more of her work.
Why is this being ignored in award season? It's just not there.
Like I said, I mean, ultimately it's cute. I think that it went a little too hard in the comedy side of things, which made it more enjoyable to me, but it didn't get to the dramatic side as much as I think the Academy would probably have responded to.
Maybe it's a little lightweight.
Yeah, I think it's a little too lightweight, and I think she had fun with the poppy dialogue and banter, and went harder there than she did with the dramatic side. And the dramatic side, it didn't wreck me or anything. I didn't, but it was there. It was good, and it was it had me. It'll have you thinking about your own relationships for sure, and it's really well done. But at the end of the day, I'm going to look back on this movie as very funny and cute.
This also played at Sundance and is 93 minutes long.
It is 92 minutes long. Yes. She's done a lot of TV, that Holfstetter. I don't know how many features has she done. I don't even know.
Well, you rounded off a couple.
I Hate That I Love You. That's a TV movie. Please Give. That's a movie from 2010, which I don't know. Maybe I should watch that. Maybe I want to watch that. Please Give. Catherine Keener.
Not seen by me.
I need to. Well, in New York City, a husband and wife butt heads with the granddaughters of the elderly woman who lives in the apartment the couple owns. That doesn't sell me. That doesn't sell me at all. The Nicole Olive Center and Catherine Keener and Oliver Platt do. Rebecca Hall, fuck to the yes. I'm watching this. Who knows when? Okay.
Maybe soon. Maybe today. Hey, speaking of fun, we were assigned a film that ended up being, at least for me and possibly for you, quite the revelation, quite the eye-opening experience. Talking about Rye Lane, 2023 film directed by Rain Allen Miller in her feature debut. This stars David Johnson and Vivian Opara in a bit of a two-hander, as Anderson might say. 98% Rotten Tomatoes. You can stream this on Hulu, and it played at Sundance last year, and it is nominated for Outstanding British Film at this year's BAFTAs. And yes, Anderson, I'm going to blow your mind. I actually spoke to Dani Leffler.
Oh, yeah? How'd that happen?
It was a series of bizarre circumstances. But yeah, she explained that Rye Lane was, so she volunteers at Sundance every year, apparently.
Yes.
She actually goes and
Dani Leffler does.
Yeah,
Dani Leffler, listener Dani Leffler, assigner Dani Leffler, who assigned us Rye Lane. Did you speak to her since you've seen Rye Lane?
No, I talked to her, I think, the day I was going to see it.
Okay.
And she explained that she volunteers at Sundance, tearing tickets, as it were, volunteering at the theaters, scanning people in. And part of the thing is, if you volunteer for a certain number of hours, you then get to go see all the movies you want in the other hours of the day. And she takes them up on this. Being a resident of Boise, Idaho, apparently Park City is not too far away. And so she went and saw Rye Lane when it was playing, and she came away saying it was I think she said to me it was the best iteration of a rom com, that like an R-rated rom com that she had seen, and so she wanted to share with us. It's a nice, brisk, maybe 90, maybe 88 minutes. It's very short, and it flies by. It pops, as it were. Anderson. This film takes place in England, and it is. I will admit to turning on the subtitles almost immediately. The accents are quite thick,
Mhm.
and the dialogue is quite poppy. So I didn't want to miss anything.
I rewound a couple times, and what? All right, so it opens up with this guy who is very sad, and he's at an art installation that his friend is doing in the Rye Lane market, or right outside the Rye Lane market, which I guess is a big thing in that part of the world, in England specifically. I'm not familiar with Rye Lane. I've never heard it before, and I think that that's one of the biggest problems with this movie is like, what the hell is Rye Lane? Us over here, we don't know Rye Lane. Very few of us do, and it doesn't really play into the movie other than the fact that part of their day that they spend together is in Rye Lane. But
it's at the risk of being cliched, it is almost a character unto itself.
It wasn't.
Rye Lane. Well, I disagree. Rye Lane is omnipresent in the film.
Is it? Is because it's just the market, and they only spend a small part in the market, and then they walk around all over.
I think the neighborhood is what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, perhaps, and she did use. Dani was telling me the director did use a lot of characters that are regulars in the Rye Lane neighborhood or market. So there's almost always, she shot the whole thing anamorphic. A lot of it's like wide angle lenses, right, so you can really get a feel for the place.
It's colorful
and the characters. We'll get to the background characters that are constantly present in a minute, because I don't want to get there yet. But
okay, let's pick up where you left off. The guy's at an art gallery showing for his friend.
So even before that, there's a bathroom scene, which it opens up with a lot. This movie is just rife with style, and it's style for the most part that really, really works, and it pops and it sings. And it's not style for the sake of style. It helps tell the story, and it helps tell it in an entertaining way. And we have an overhead shot, kind of like the only other time I'd seen that was Enter the Void, I think, the Gaspar Noé film, where we're overhead directly looking down of these different bathroom stalls, and we see all the different types of people that are using these different bathrooms in different ways, whether they're doing drugs, making out, throwing up, passing out, or crying,
going to the bathroom,
or crying, as it were, with the lead character. And he's just sitting on a closed toilet seat crying. And he's very, very sad because he's recently in a breakup, as we shortly learn. Now, were you confused? One of the first times, the only time that I was really confused with the style and what was going on is there's a shot of her looking in the mirror, and it's a wide angle lens, and she says something that I couldn't quite understand. And I thought she was talking to the lead character, but she was talking to herself in the mirror. I have to rewind that and go, what's going on? Because then it leads to her taking the stall next to him. She hears him crying. They start talking, but they don't see each other. But I'm like, she just saw him because she was looking, but that was actually a mirror shot.
Right.
And that was where style went a little too far, and it kind of threw me off balance. But once I got past that, the rest of the movie.
Well, you picked up on the shoes thing, right?
The shoes is, yeah, like she recognized his shoes, because they're pink Converse, and then she sees them in the art gallery, and she realizes it's the guy that was crying, and she's very confident and sure of herself, and he is not at all. And she decides to kind of take him under her wing and show him a good time, and it becomes a little bit before midnight, or what is that called?
It's got a like a before sunrise vibe to it, where it's a lot of walking and talking. That said, this movie pops and sings where that movie kind of meanders. This is a fun watch, and the characters, it lives and dies with the characters, and they're engaging and fun, especially her. Like, I really enjoyed her on the screen.
Yeah, as I was telling Dani, we're about a third of the way through the we're welcoming Avery back here. Third of the way through with Rye Lane. I was telling Dani that I would see her again if she was in a movie. I'd want to go out and see it. If he was in a movie, I want to go out just for him. But Vivian Oprah,
Yeah, for sure.
in this movie, David Johnson did his part, but he was supposed to be kind of meek and beta and quiet. And his arc is both of them have very very similar arcs, but they're reverse, which is very interesting too. The construction of this movie is great, and there's not a scene that is wasted. Every character has something to offer and something to say that is, in most cases,
Yes.
fucking entertaining and savvy and hilarious. This movie had me laughing. I was crying throughout a lot of this movie, either because I was laughing so hard or I was just enjoying it so much. The tears were actually streaming down my face. I love the fucking movie. There's no way this movie's not top 10 for me. There's no fucking.
I think I think better casting that sort of meek guy was like it was in Poor Things was Rami Youssef, was that
Yeah.
that was a more enjoyable version of that kind of character, of the meek aw shucks guy.
Wait,
'Cause he
what do you think was better?
The guy in Poor Things who was in a similar position who was
I
trying to.
disagree. He was very neither here nor there for me. Whereas this guy at least was a fun counterpoint.
He has the least to work with. The
That's
least.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
the
not
given
given
straight
time.
man. He's the straight man.
And I feel bad because he did exactly what he had to do, but he's the least interesting part of the entire movie, which says a lot because most movies, like, they'd be just well enough, okay movies, like he'd be carrying the movie with his performance, but he's surrounded by so much good stuff. It's almost unfair to say. Now, as far as the white extras that are in about every third scene, we'll see white extras doing something strange and white and weird.
I don't think I picked up on that.
I didn't either.
Really? I mean, starting with a cowboy who is like dressed in the all blue sequence.
Oh yeah, and then
the mall that's closed.
yeah,
And I took that as almost commentary on how, for the longest time, black characters have kind of been background and doing like cliched, weird, or nefarious, like black character things and being like thugs and I almost took that like she was like kind of having fun with it and showing white people just being goofy in the background. I should have
being these throwaway caricatures or like Simpsons again. It felt very
they're like doing yoga in the back. I mean, there's so often there's white characters who have nothing to say, but they're doing something goofy in the background.
It felt very an Atlanta take on white people.
Very
sure.
Atlanta. Yeah.
I wonder if that's specific to Rye Lane, to that neighborhood.
But that's what Dani was saying, is that she actually used a lot of people who are actually from that area to fill out the background. So maybe it's just, there's a lot of odd whiteies that are around there.
The movie for me peaked with the scene where the character is essentially cuckolded in a reunion scene. I'll leave it at that. And it is very enjoyable.
Yes, very, very cathartic to watch.
The best friend character is fantastic.
Oh, and just some really, it is very frustrating because especially everybody when they were younger and you're in the dating world has encountered people like this who are really about me. I'm trying to get what I want out of life, and then they do something that it might be construed as hurting someone else, and they just want it to be over. Because in their mind, they already got what they want, and they're like, let's just bury the hatchet. Let's just bury it immediately. It's fine. It's just be an adult. And that just seeing that person get their comeuppance was very satisfying because those people live amongst us, and they're
they do.
an archetype that drives me insane.
That's a good point. And
It's just business people. It's just business. It's just dating. And that drives me insane. Just the carte blanche to act like an asshole. And it's just, well, that's just life. It's just what's going on. Let's be adults.
Yeah.
The movies that kind of look like a music video, but like it's just too much. This is like the best example of a movie that looks like it's shot as though a music video should be taking place in its frame, but it fucking works. It works.
Yeah, and the best friend character, there was just enough of him. Like, I can see the temptation being, hey, this character's great, let's put him in more scenes. But like, it was just enough.
He was in a couple. I was glad to see that he returned because I was afraid we weren't going to get enough of him, like you said. But yeah, they didn't overuse him. They stayed with the one and the two. It's a two-hander, like Bryan said, and they stick with those. They don't deviate. They don't fall off those two characters, and he's
a great dumb character. He's a very enjoyable dumb character to watch.
Happy dumb, and fun. We've all had those friends, right? We've all had those friends, especially like in high school. You have some friends that they're not dumb. They might not be great people, but they're so much fun to hang with.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you're like, what am I? Why am I I'm here.
This
But
is
yeah,
not cool, man. Not
that
cool.
lunch scene is so great. You're absolutely right. And I thought I was liking this movie. And then when there's a scene where there's a lo-fi dick and a picture that comes into play, and then the one character says, I recognize that dick, even though it was lo-fi because it was my best mate's. And then it smash cuts to him and his best mate peeing, giant, impossibly large streams of pee coming to the camera.
Fountain asks Bellagio streams.
Yes, and they're like laughing and enjoying themselves as they pee in the public bathroom. I'm like, all right, I get this movie now. I know exactly what kind of movie it is, and I absolutely love it. And the worst part about this movie, it's 82 minutes long. It might have been just right, but I could have used another 10 minutes. Like the movies that I want to end don't fucking end, and they're 3 hours long. This is an hour and 22 minutes, and it's just glorious. I don't think we're even overselling it. Like this movie should be seen by everybody.
It's a lot of fun. High in the fun scale. Almost broke the fun scale.
I was crying. I loved it so much.
And it's I really enjoyed the douchey artist friend as well. His ideas and his
when he basically repeats the line about Jupiter at the end. Perfect.
And he offloads the art onto his buddy. He doesn't offer to just give it to him. He goes, dude, it'd be so great if you bought this right now. I know you can't afford it, but it'd be great if you just forces him to buy his art.
The only thing that could make this movie better is if I was really like emotionally invested in the two characters. And honestly, that's a pretty big weakness, I guess, with a rom-com like this. Is like I didn't really care if they wound up together or not.
I didn't either.
And I think that's a
cold-hearted bastards.
That said, this is a 4.5 star movie. It would have been like a 5-star banger, as Eric and Bruce and Greg say, if it was if I actually was like crying about the relationship. But I was crying just out of the joy of the movie. This is just a joyous, really, really well executed, fun fucking movie.
All right, I agree.
Rye Lane.
Oh, and I have in the down the last minute, I believe I did get the fanfliction from Mitch Burns.
Oh, thank God.
He was able to make up for my fuck up. So if we want to close out on the fanfliction here from Mitch Burns and the people. So the listener comment was from Where's Ja 87 on Reddit. He says Anderson and I don't see eye to eye on a whole lot, but we're in lockstep on Mel Brooks. I've never really understood the appeal either. My wife and I watched History of the World Part 2 recently, and it just was not for me. Are Anderson and I simply devoid of joy, or is Brooks not as liked as I thought?
Rye Lane. Nothing but joy.
Rye Lane. Matthew R. Cheatham on Facebook. Not a great weekend in movie viewing for me. I watched The Underdogs and The Marvels. Snoop Dogg was quite a bit more entertaining than The Marvels' latest.
Wow.
Paul DePaula on Facebook. The Marvels scores very high on the fun scale. Great cast, good action, very enjoyable. Also, it's great to see the action superhero movie is under an hour 45.
Agreed.
SLC Movie Junkie on Twitter. Lisa Frankenstein. Oh, hilarious. Quick. Witty, Diablo-coded writing. A bit less racy than Jennifer's Body, but racy for a PG-13. I'd say more PG-15, question mark? And then shout out to Ismail, says Mitch, who does a fanfliction every single week in this format. That's Ismail Lemus on Twitter. Faces in the Crowd, not dope on Tubi. Black Death from 2010, dope on Tubi.
Wait. Go back. Face in the Crowd, not dope.
He says not dope.
I think Avery said Faces in the Crowd.
Oh, he says Faces in the Crowd. I don't know if that's different.
Oh, then a Face in the Crowd. Okay.
Yeah, Faces in the Crowd is 2011, and it's on Tubi.
God.
So I think
let's just be clear about that, because a Face in the Crowd is absolutely, with Andy Griffith, is absolutely dope.
It's pretty good.
Faces in the Crowd from 2011, not dope.
Okay.
Black Death from 2010, dope. Tubi, I do agree. The Birds, 1963, dope on YouTube.
I still have
Black Mama, White Mama, 1973, not dope, also on Tubi.
That's a remake of the Defiant Ones.
Black Mama, White Mama.
Yeah.
And finally, Drug Lord, The Legend of Shorty documentary, not dope. Also on Tubi.
A lot of Tubi.
All right. Tubi got a lot of run this
Hey, Groupers is on Tubi. Groupers is on Tubi. It's on Amazon. It's all over the place.
You ready for the Ismail review, though? You ready for the hot or not from Ismail?
From who? From what?
Ismail. It's his format. Are you ready to put groupers after that scrutiny on Tubi?
Oh, because he's like hot or not?
Yeah.
Not hot, not dope, not dope, dope. Yeah, I'm sure that Ismail will get it. I'm sure. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sure he already has, actually. All right, never mind.
He's taking it back.
Rye Lane.
Yes,
Tom
we
Melia.
endorse. We endorse. Thanks, Danny.
Tom Melia and Nathan Bryan Bryan should be recognized for the adept writing, because it was very, very well written. It was very well directed. It was just one of those things where all three, the two writers and the director, all just formed this great thing. And like I said, I don't think we're overselling this. I can't. If you hate this movie, there's something off about your. Is that fair?
It's hard to poke holes in this. It's very enjoyable.
I don't know how you would hate this. I think the only way you would hate this is if you just were broken up with the moment before you watch this. And even then, I mean, that's the whole point of the movie, and it would probably be cathartic anyway. So I don't know who really hates this.
Oh, racist probably don't.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
There's no black and white relationships. I don't think they're all like black and black relationships. So
I can see older people having problems with the accents, and the movie moves too fast.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's a little too quick for them. Yeah. Great.
All right, you want to talk some Ensemble Casts?
Does this make your Voltes, do you think, Brian?
It's a contender for sure. I mean, I'm a purist. There'll be 5 movies and 5 alone. That said, this is certainly going to be on the short list.
That's not a purist. That's a foolishness. Because I mean, all critics have top 10, because it's a lot of movies that come out in a year. So you do a top 10, you're just a fool.
Now you tell me.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, top 5 Ensemble Cast Part 2 coming up next. Welcome back. Time to count down our top 5s. But first, Anderson, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what are we watching next week in terms of what a listener has assigned us?
Not putting me on the spot. That's keeping me honest, and thank you for doing so, because I would have felt very bad if I had forgotten. So we're going to be watching Evening Promise, which is on YouTube for rent, and this is thanks to Jeffrey Covey. Jeffrey Covey has assigned us Evening Promise on YouTube. It is a classic, at least in Jeffrey Covey's eyes. We'll be the judge of that. Jeffrey.
1966, starring Anthony Perkins.
I look forward to talking to Jeffrey Covey about this one. It's been too long, Jeffrey. We keep up via email, but it's going to be nice to. Hey, look, my roofer's texting me right in the.
This is a 51-minute movie. Holy shit!
Short. It's very short.
Very short. All right, thanks, Jeffrey. You said Jeffrey Covey.
Jeffrey Covey. Don't call him Jeff. Actually, I don't know. Maybe you can call him Jeff, but I don't think so.
I didn't. I said Jeffrey Covey.
Okay. All right. Okay. He just. I see how people sign their emails, and how they sign off, and if they use a full name, I'm like, all right, that's what we should probably go with.
I don't know why I had this. I probably was on Ambien. I'm wondering why I had this fantasy, but I thought if I ever got to meet Anthony Hopkins and we actually spent more than 2 minutes together, and he's like, "Oh, call me Tony," I don't think I could. No, you're Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
You're Anthony Hopkins.
Spends his time. Well, how would I react if I met a megastar?
I don't know why I thought that, but here we are.
All right. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I would never think to call him Tony. I would never. He's not a Tony. He's Anthony. I get you. I know what you're saying.
I think his friends call him Tony, which I could never be. Top 5 Ensemble Casts. Anderson, you mentioned that you switched up your strategy. What does that mean?
No.
Oh,
I do this every time. I will take the original 5 and then I will add to it with the new ones and see where they land. And that jostles and changes the order. And sometimes some from the original 5 get completely kicked off. Now, if I was really, really good at this, which I like to think I am, only movies that have come out since 2012, since we last did this, should be in the running, or movies that I've seen and gone back and seen since. But that's not how my list is lining up. Most of the movies that are top the list now are movies that I had already seen, but for whatever reason didn't put them on my list way back when we did it. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I don't know what the hell. I did not like my original list, Brian. I don't.
I did, but these were older films. At least ones that were already out by the time we did our list. In
do you want to do the original lists and then you want to say what they were, or?
Yeah, can do. Number
Okay.
5 for me was Pulp Fiction, despite it being confusing as a great ensemble cast. Number 4 was Heat. Number 3, Boogie Nights. Number 2, Tombstone. And yes, number 1, I'm so proud of myself for this one. The Faculty, not just for the adult cast, which is great and deep, but the mostly then unknown young cast has gone on to great things and is the heart of the movie. So The Faculty is the number 1.
So you just have a new top 5, right? You
Yeah.
don't mix them in like I do. So we have no idea if. So we're just gonna assume that your new top 5 is just your 6 through 10 all time.
I can mix them in if you want me to.
No, it's too late. Number 5 for me was a movie called The Funeral from 1996. A lot of it too, the way I was going about it, I think were like people that I like, because like Chris Walken, Chris Penn, Annabella Sciorra, Isabella Rossellini, Benicio del Toro, Gretchen Mol, Vincent Gallo, and David Patrick Kelly were all in The Funeral, and some of my favorite actors of that time were in that movie. So that's why 1996 is The Funeral. Abel Ferrara's The Funeral was on there. Hard movie to get through, but great ensemble cast. And then I had Little Miss Sunshine on number 4. What the fuck? Number 3 was Platoon. Number 2 was Glengarry Glen Ross. Number 1 for me was Royal Tenenbaums. And I'm just gonna let you know this, Brian. Royal Tenenbaums is not on my top 10 anymore. So
it's fallen quite precipitously.
Yes, yes, it has.
You mean the film I turned off after 20 minutes?
I didn't know.
Stop it.
Now, back then, evidently, and I was just looking at names, and I'll tell you why right now, why it's not on my list anymore, even though I've expanded now to 10 for best ensemble cast as far as I'm concerned. The way that Wes Anderson uses his large names is atrocious, and I do not appreciate that.
It's gotten worse. I agree.
He has names in his movies. He doesn't use them effectively, I don't think. I think he used them a little more effectively in the Royal Tenenbaums than he does today. That said, he's almost just collecting names for the trailer, and I'm not into that kind of
he's playing Pokemon with actors.
He kind of is. And I don't know why actors are bending over for him, because it's got
to be fun to work with him. It's got to be a good paycheck, and it's a fun environment, right? It's got to be like summer camp.
Do you think he writes with these actors in mind, like, oh, this will be Jeffrey Wright and this will be Jeff Goldblum?
I would guess that he probably does, because he knows he can get them, and it's a lot easier to write for a person you're writing for, even though they're all pretty much the same goddamn characters a lot of the time with the way that he writes. So like in the same universe, but
it's got to be a fun gig. It's got to be high on the fun scale to be in the project.
I really wish I was smart enough to be able to access his movies, because there's so much,
This character is Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, I was talking with an actress the other day. This thing that Mike and I were shooting, this behind the scenes thing, and she's 16 years old, and very, very smart, very well read. And Jacques Cousteau came up, and she had never heard of him. And this is a girl who's like, she's reading all these like old classic books and watching old classic movies, but she didn't know who Jacques Cousteau was. And I was afraid to do it, but I did it. And I said, have you ever seen Life Aquatic? And she goes, oh, of course, I love Wes Anderson. I'm like, okay, well,
oh no,
Steve Zissou is based on Jacques Cousteau. That was her only frame of reference for who Jacques Cousteau might be. And she's
dark taste,
a smart, educated, cultured 16-year-old girl working in the industry, and that is very dark.
You know what, though? You're 16, you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. This is the time to learn.
I admonished her mother. I said, how dare you?
Good. There's the root of the problem.
I did. It was fun. It was all in fun, though. All right, here we go.
All right. Should we I don't know where to start. I have a tie number 5.
All right.
I will acknowledge that this is a interesting tie, because it's a movie and its sequel. Both have great casting. Of course, the original has a great casting, and the sequel builds upon it with bold casting. And I think we both agree that it's fantastic. I'm talking, of course, about Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Now, Batman Begins, of course, with Christian Bale as Batman, the titular Batman. Michael Caine, Liam Neeson, Katie Holmes, which is an interesting wrinkle, because The Dark Knight fixed maybe the weakest casting of the first movie when they replaced Katie Holmes with Maggie Gyllenhaal. Gary Oldman, of course, Cillian Murphy, who, I don't know if you know, Anderson, actually screen tested to be Batman early on in the process.
I had read that, yes.
I've seen the footage. He's good, of course. Cillian Murphy's a great actor.
I'd love to see swole Cillian. I'd love to see him pack on that muscle.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
in the suit, so I think the suit does the heavy lifting, as it were. But he's there doing Batman in the Green Test. Tom Wilkinson, Rucker Hauer, Ken Watanabe, and of course Morgan Freeman. The Dark Knight, of course, introduced Heath Ledger, among others, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal, William Fichtner into the process. Oh, I had it written down.
And Anderson's boy, Das Malchian.
That's right, David S. Malskian. Anderson, did you know William Fichtner as the bank manager was not the first choice? The role was offered to Dwight Yoakam,
Oh,
who turned it down because he was working on an album at the time. But William Fichtner plays the bank manager in the opening scene. Heath, I'm sure Giovanni will have plenty to say about this where I'm wrong. But as I understand it, Heath Ledger was actually a bit of a controversial choice to play the Joker amongst
was.
the hardcore fans. Like,
for
he
sure. I
looked
remember
at-
that happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no one wanted
was
that.
one of
Yeah, I
them.
remember that at the time. Everyone was like, that pretty boy? No.
Yeah, but that's not exactly. That's what my research uncovered. Like, no, this little heartthrob, whatever,
It was like a Knight's Tale.
Knight's Tale, exactly. And 10 Things Said About You.
It'd be like
But
if you
when I-
cast that fucking guy from Twilight to play Batman. Wouldn't that be absurd?
Yeah, nightmare scenario. Turns out, as history has, of course, played out, Heath Ledger killed it. Killed himself. Absolutely killed it as the Joker.
Too soon.
And the Dark Knight and Batman Begins, given that it's the same creative team for the most part, inspired bold casting, and we have it today as a titan of superhero films.
You know how you get things stuck in your head, and like if you have a vision of something, and then every time you think of that, like let's say the movie, like you have that image in your head, and it's so unfair. But every time I think of the Batman, the latest one that came out,
Right.
I picture him in full garb with a giant magnifying glass like Sherlock Holmes, because that's how I thought of that movie. It was just it was just like a sleuth. They're just like. And every time I think of it, I just have a clear image of him holding a big magnifying glass, which he never does in the entire movie. But that's in my head every time.
Saying stool pigeon?
Yeah, that I say every. That's what it is. What's a rat with wings? A pigeon. No, it's
Lotta.
It's you.
I did the rewatch though, and fuck, do I love that movie?
Yeah,
fuck,
it's a good
do
movie.
I love that movie?
We're all
Did you
wrong
ever see
sometimes.
the
We're all
deleted
wrong.
scene with Barry Keoghan?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, Barry
I saw it.
Keoghan
Yeah.
is in a deleted scene as the Joker.
I thought that was at the very end. It's
He
not a
was-
full scene, but it's just him laughing.
In
Th-
my
this-
head, he was fucking the magnifying glass on the grave.
The scene that I've seen is much longer and actually I think shows his face as opposed to the scene that's in the movie, which I think is kind of an oblique angle.
Yeah.
Can I just say I like that Keoghan? Geo sent me a YouTube link of him on the Hot Ones or whatever it's called, the where you got to answer questions while you're
Sure.
eating the hot wings, which is very
with the human android, Sean, whatever.
But Keoghan really shines. He's great. Like,
Oh, good. I
that's
was
all
afraid you
great.
were gonna besmirch.
it doesn't need like that. It's so sticky, It's such
The
a gimmick.
gimmick.
The hot wings, but just watching him, talk about himself. He had this one line. He was asked if Keoghan was asked if he's ever really given his all, because he's such like an all or nothing actor. He's ever given his all to a scene that ended up hitting the cutting room floor, and his retort was, no, in fact, usually they want more of me. Like they were sad that they didn't shoot the scene longer.
They love it. Everybody loves it.
Everybody loves it. All right, number 10. Oh, wait, and we mentioned at the top, Brian, I tune you out sometimes, but we mentioned why we're doing this because they added this as a category starting next.
Yes, this was 26 was what I saw.
Top 5. It will be a category for casting specifically. So it's weird, it's strange, but that documentary we watched, that great documentary we watched a number of years ago called Casting By, they do point out the fact that it's one of the only major positions on a film that is so important that does not have a category unto itself at the Academy. So
Next biggest one has to be stuntmen, right? Stunt
That's
or
what
stunt
I
people.
posited, that there should be a practical effects category, because visual effects, the Oscar is almost completely CGI at this point, and understandable. That's where the industry is. Why not have a practical effects award that covers stunts,
I agree with that.
explosions, car chases, all that shit?
or stunts have their own as well as practical effects.
I like stunts.
because practical effects, when you use practicals, there's like the Ghostbusters that they continue to do, like those practical, that Sam Winston looking things, they're great. I love watching the practicals. I got such fatigue from the cartoons that are intertwined with pretty much every action movie you see. Okay, here we go. Number 10 for me. Platoon is still on the list, 86. Platoon. I'll try and do this as quick as I can. But Keith David, Forrest Whitaker, Kevin Dillon, John C.
We're
McGinley,
doing your old list.
Corey. Brian, it's number 10 on my list now. Corey Glover, Johnny Depp, Chris Pedersen, who I love. Actually had breakfast with him, but didn't realize it was him until afterwards. There was like 10 of us at the table. But he's, of course, from Suburbia, that Chris Pedersen. Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, Charlie Sheen, Brian. And Dale Dye makes an appearance in there, as well as Oliver Stone himself as a cameo. So that's my number 10. My number 9 is new to the list this year, Brian. And that is Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Number 9, Tropic Thunder has quite the list of recognizable names, including Robert Downey Jr., Jack Black, Jay Baruchel, Ben Stiller, Steve Coogan. Wait with me. Danny McBride is in there. Bill Hader, Nick Nolte is in there, as well as Matthew
McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey.
Tom Cruise.
You got the Tom Cruise there. I was about to say John Voight, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Jason Bateman, not Luke.
Is John Voight in the movie? Oh, maybe as himself, like at an award show or something.
Yeah. Tobey Maguire, uncredited in there.
He's in the trailer for Satan's Alley.
I killed a panda. Amanda? That's probably not even her real name.
I killed the thing that I love the most. You killed a hooker.
All right, what's your number 4, brother?
Enjoyable.
Oh, I need to rewatch that. Oh, it's a good movie.
Enjoyable. Going all the way back, Anderson, for number 4 to American Graffiti. This American Graffiti, directed by George Lucas, of course, touches on one of the things I value the most in this list, which is great casting, yes, but no, casting a lot of unknowns who then went on to be well-known actors. I'm talking, of course, about Richard Dreyfuss, Ron Howard, Paul Nemeth, Harrison Ford, Charles Martin Smith, Cindy Williams, Candy Clark, Mackenzie Phillips, Bo Hopkins, Wolfman Jack, Del Close, and Suzanne Summers in this movie.
Wolfman Jack. I looked at the Weird Al Yankovic movie as possibly making this list today. A lot of great cameos in there, but
Jack Black plays Wolfman Jack.
I brought that up, Brian. That's exactly why I brought it up.
I didn't hear.
Number 8 for me is going back to 1983, Brian, and I'm talking about The Big Chill. The Big Chill has these recognizable names in prominent parts. Talking about Tom Berenger. There he is again. I just named him for Platoon. We got Glenn Close, Jeff Goldblum, William Hurt, Kevin Kline, Meg Tilly. That's where Kevin Costner. It's Kevin Costner.
Right. Scenes.
Pretty nice cast that you got there. And then this is a little easy. I'm a bit basic for having the remake rather than the original, but that's how I feel. And I'm talking about Ocean's 11 from what year was it? 2001. And you got your George Clooney there. You got your Bernie Mac, Brad Pitt, Elliot Gould, Casey Affleck, Scott Conn, son of James Conn.
If we did a top 5 movies that go down smooth, I think that would be my number 1.
This sets the bar high for the fun scale.
Carl Reiner, Matt Damon, Andy Garcia, Julia Roberts. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on.
Oh, don't sleep on the cameos by Topher Grace and
Wayne Newton's
face. The Pacey. What's the kid playing poker with them?
Don Cheadle, Viola Davis is in this. Brian, it just keeps going and going and going. All right. You got the Topher Grace, which you already said.
I didn't know Viola Davis is there.
David Leitch is in this. He plays a security guard. The director, David Leitch.
Director?
Yes. We didn't even know.
Speaking of casting, do you know the choice? The first choice was for the brother characters. They were played by Affleck and Khan.
Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant.
Inspired, yes, but in fact, it was Joel and Ethan Coen.
Oh, look at that. That would have been fun. Steven Soderbergh, speaking of directors, makes a cameo in this. He's the vault bombing thief. And then Shane West is also in this, uncredited. So that's my number whatchamacallit. All right, guys, I got to take a quick 10-minute break here because the appointment that I was telling you about has appeared. So can we take like a 10-minute break and I'll come back? I'll text you guys.
Just
Let's do it. We can just dovetail into Amazon.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah. So let's do that right now. So, all right, you want to just do that and I'll put a marker and then we'll come back?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
All right, coming up next, we will talk a little Amazon and then go right back to our list of Ensemble Casts. Time to go over some of the interesting and notable purchases made on Amazon this week through our affiliate link that sits on AndersonandBryan.com. Thank you in advance for tapping that link when you want to do your shopping. Helps us, costs you nothing, kind of a win-win. I got no music as Avery is in absentia, so I'm going to use my power of my mind to hit the post. Let's do it. Things purchased on that Amazon link include
Still pointed to Avery, who's not here. He's still
Avery, take it away.
Muscle memory.
Dell Optiplex 7000 micro desktop computer was the big purchase of the week. Thank you. Someone got an Ego Fit Walker Pro treadmill. 4 TP-Link Ultra Slim wireless access points, as well as 3 TP-Link point of entry switches and a TP-Link VPN router. Thanks for using us to help upgrade your system. Canon 8-pack ink was purchased. Someone got themselves an Acer ultra-thin IPS computer monitor. HP 4-pack of ink cartridges was purchased by some lucky so-and-so. Nutrafol hair men's growth supplements. Still like to know if those work.
Hurtful.
Ask a friend. Also hurtful. LG Tone Style earbuds, ISO Pure Protein Powder, 5x7 washable boho area rug was picked up. Someone got Pampers Sensitive Baby Wipes, 5 Cable Matters Ethernet cables, 2 Vivo ARM desk mounts, YubiKey security key was purchased. Gift cards going around. Amazon.com gift card in a birthday pop-up box. Amazon e-gift card in a birthday cake box. Birthday cake, how nice. And a Meta. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? MetaQuest $50 gift card was also picked up. Men's printed button-down dress shirt. Be-Life battery for cordless vacuum cleaner. Elden Ring for PlayStation 5 was purchased. Thanks for making your game purchases through us. And Amazfit fitness and health tracker. And someone got themselves a copy of apparently what has come to be known as the true history, the true account, Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, the secret history of the 60s.
Smart.
Well, a little more than halfway through. I'm retaining about 20% of what I'm listening to because it's so dense and there's so many names being thrown at me on the book on tape. But boy, am I enjoying it.
It's wild.
Squeaky from.
Unbelievable. Squeaky's name has not been mentioned once to this point. But my God, is it shocking. The fact that
Tex Watson.
How is there just so much going on in the world that this wasn't a giant story when it came out in 2019? Because this is not common knowledge.
No, and it is. I mean, once you get through all of it, too, it is. There is history altering stuff in there in terms of your conception of the time period and what even happened.
For better or worse, I feel like the cement is hardened on that sort of time in history. So getting through to the truth might be.
I hear what you're saying, but the year that this book came out is the same year that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, and this is going to be at least a very, very well received movie eventually, if not a mini series that's going to change everyone's perception of everything that we thought we knew. I mean, just there is this operation. Maybe there is a movie about it, but I just learned about the CIA run operation that comes from this book that's called Phoenix, where they were going in and Operation Phoenix. Do you remember this part, Avery?
Yeah, it's ringing some bells, but keep going.
They would go in and they had the operatives in Vietnam that were just slaughtering innocent villages and trying to make it look like they're all about framing other factions.
Yes.
And they would just slaughter innocent bystanders and say, yeah, this is what the Viet Cong did to its own people. So anyone who was kind of in the middle that was Vietnamese, they were hoping that they would sway them to the American side, to the U.S. side, the West side, and then they would pick up arms and help the U.S. fight. Like that kind of shit our government evidently was doing.
And literally crop dusting parts of Korea with psychedelics.
haven't gotten to that part yet, but like they were like putting electrodes in like prisoners' brains and giving them daggers and telling them to kill each other so that they could track the brain and what was going on. It's like Nazi like stuff. And I was, I guess, naive, unless all this is bullshit, but I was naive thinking like, you know what, we have some, there's lines we won't cross as Americans, and we are, above some of that stuff, but evidently not so much.
Guess not.
It's kind of fucking shocking.
Hey, bringing it back to movies for a second. You're right. This will make quite a movie with quite the ensemble cast someday. It's true.
Smooth, Brian.
All right.
Yeah,
a short list of movies this weekend.
Yes, only 3 movies. I don't even think I need music here, but somebody got Breathe, somebody got Click Through and got One Fine Morning, and somebody very wisely got The Holdovers. So thank you very much to those
Smart
3 individuals, or maybe there was one of you got all 3, maybe 2 of you, one got 2, one got 1. Maybe it was 3 different people. I don't know. No one can ever tell. Maybe 2 people got together and said, hey, let's both pitch in for The Holdover. I'm not going to do this every week when we only have 3 movies.
There's only so many combos that would make up this movie roster.
People are already calling Holdovers a Christmas classic, and I think I agree.
I tend to.
It might be a Christmas staple.
Yes. Chaos. Tom O'Neill.
It rains.
It's crazy. It's insane. What I'm learning and I'm only retaining 20, maybe 30% because there's so many names and I'm doing other things while I'm listening to it. I'm not giving it my active 100% active ear, but I every now and again something will pop up. I'm like, what just happened? I'll rewind like 5 minutes and actively.
Yeah. If your commute is killing you right now, get this audiobook and you will be dying to get in your car and listen to this thing.
It is.
I was finding reasons to walk around the block, and I was walking to stores just so I could hear more of it. It was great.
Nice. All right, everyone. Thanks for your patronage as it pertains to Amazon. We appreciate you. And then back to the show.
And we're back. Very good.
All true.
Welcome back. All right, let's just get right into it. I'm up, I believe. And
whoever's up number 3 or the 3 spot.
Yes.
So number 6 is a new one for me, Brian, and that is The Departed. What the Academy considers Martin Scorsese's finest film. As much as I wasn't super stoked about putting it on my list, in revisiting the cast, I'm like, how is this not on my list? Here's who you have in The Departed, the 2006, was it?
It's 5 or 6, something like that.
I think it's 6.
We got Leo DiCaprio. We've heard of him. Matt Damon is also in this, as well as Jack Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, Ray Winstone, Vera Farmiga, who I love, Anthony Anderson, Alec Baldwin, Kevin Corrigan, and if I just left it there, that would be a hell of a cast. And I guess I could just leave it there.
Who's the? He's not a household name, but the Irish guy is fantastic. The Irish actor.
Ray Winston.
The guy who misspells citizens or whatever.
I saw this movie once and was not blown away, so I never revisited. So don't ask me for particulars.
The one who calls the phone and says, "Mom, I won't be home for dinner tonight."
What did I just finish saying? Don't ask me for particulars.
You don't remember that? That's a pretty big part of the movie.
I don't remember. I saw it once in the theater and I was like, I should watch the original. I heard it's good.
Oh, Infernal Affairs?
What? Oh, yeah.
Isn't that it?
It could be called that, yes. You're asking me more things, and that's not what this is about. It's not about a give and take. It's just I'm giving you my list. I'm giving you why it's on my list, and then we move on. I don't need any interjection, all right?
I feel bad for even bringing it up.
I think it's David O'Hara that you're talking about. Fitzy.
That sounds about right.
All right. David O'Hara. He was born in Scotland, so you're gone. You're wrong. He was born in Glasgow, Scotland.
Oh, now please direct your ire elsewhere. I am but an ignorant American.
All that, and it comes back to bite you in the ass.
I know. I feel bad.
Robert Wahlberg. Is he one of the Wahlbergs? You'd think, probably.
I've never heard of him.
He plays Lazio, the FBI agent in this movie. FBI, very naughty. Very, very naughty institution. The whole thing, Brian, with Chaos is like, they're like, hey, if Charlie's group is killing Black Panthers, sweet. We're already trying to turn the Black Panthers against their rivals because we just want them to all be killing each other in the street because we're nerdy white men with ties. That would happen on a large scale.
They front of themselves that way.
But the nerdy white men with ties, yeah. I mean, they have to look in the mirror to get ready, right?
That's a good point. All right, are you going to your next movie or should I go?
Oh yeah, my next movie is back on the list again. It survived, and that is Glengarry Glenn Ross. Obviously, it's a strong choice for the exercise we're doing here. 1992's Glengarry Glenn Ross. Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, Alan Arkin, Ed Harris, Kevin Spacey, Jonathan Price, just to name the main.
So many. Well, it's ironic because it's kind of a limited storytelling, and there's a limited number of sets, but a great cast and a big cast. And you could have gone with a number of Maine, projects. The what's the one? The State of Maine could have been on the list.
I looked at State of Maine. It was not as hefty as Glengarry Glenn Ross. So Glengarry Glenn Ross stays on my list, rightfully so. And now it's number 5. It was on my list at number 2 when we did this way back 12 years ago.
Rearranging things. Hey, speaking of Jack Nicholson, number 3 is not a deep, well, I guess it is kind of a deep cast, but really acknowledging the bold casting here. Like, again, Giovanni's probably weighing in on this, but the original, the 1989 Tim Burton Batman movie, starring Jack Nicholson. Fun fact, Jack Nicholson has the headlining role in this. Michael Keaton is second build. Michael Keaton was very controversial, especially among like superhero comic fans. Like, Michael Keaton's going to be Batman. He can't be Batman.
Are you telling me comic book nerds with preconceived notions of who their Batman should be were upset by something?
Perhaps this is where it started, but it was controversial at the time. I think Keaton ended up being a great Batman. I feel like history has borne that out, but the cast was top billed. Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, Kim Basinger, Robert Wool. Where have you gone? Pat Hingle, Billy D. Williams, Michael Goff, Jack Palance, and Jerry Hall. Solid cast. Solid cast.
Where has Robert Wool gone?
Yeah, seriously, I enjoy Robert Wool.
Hey, this
is
a little behind the scenes, as I think the listeners may know. I don't know. It depends on how Avery edits this together, but I had to take a quick pause and deal with an appointment that I had, which was with my new roofer. So I was up on the roof, while we took a quick break here in the middle of the show. And I got a real good education on roofs. What's really cool about roofer, I was telling Brian this off air, is
they're on the top of your house. That's what I heard.
On the top of your house. You're looking at your neighborhood, Avery, and it's kind of like a showroom up there. He's pointing out all the different types of roofs and talking about the benefits of each one and trying to figure out which one I should go with. And we had a good 20 roofs so we could see from the top of my house in my neighborhood. Right? All these different.
Did he give it up and say, like, that's a good roof right there? Who did that take to work?
My roof was actually the best in the neighborhood at one point.
Oh.
He talked me out of it, and it's a more expensive one because this guy is very, very honest. So I am very happy to have him on my team. But while I was up there on the roof, believe it or not, I got a text from Giovanni, Captain Giovanni sent me a text with something quite interesting. I'll break it here first, perhaps, or
please.
But a lot of you will be hearing this for the first time probably, and that is Elizabeth Olsen and Charles Melton to star in Todd Solondz Love Child for Past Lives producer Rocket Science. So we're gonna have Elizabeth Olsen and Charles Melton in a Todd Solondz movie. It's been too long, Todd Solondz, of course, of happiness and storytelling, and then I wrote interesting, and then so often is the case with Giovanni, I won't understand what his response is, and maybe you guys can help me with this.
All right.
Maybe it's a reference to, usually they're references and they're deep references and I don't get them. Maybe this is a reference to May, December, but I write interesting about the Elizabeth Olsen, Charles Melton and the Todd Solondz film. And I write interesting. And then he writes F me C word, ?
F me C word.
I don't know. Now that opens it up to like, now I'm going to have to be, what does that mean, Gio? Exposing myself for being dumb or not getting what he's, picking up what he's putting. And then he'll retort, and so I'm just going to leave it be. I think
there's the F me N word thing, a reference to your favorite secretary.
Maybe that's what he's doing.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe it's F me N word from storytelling, which was one of the funnier scenes, more uncomfortable scenes in a very uncomfortable movie, which is storytelling. Avery, you've seen that storytelling.
I have not.
But you picked up on what he was saying, even though he said F me C word instead of F me N word?
Yes. Because
I got to be quiet. I have neighbors.
I have only picked it up because it has become a part of Film Vault lore. How could you forget
was
that?
Played on this
It's
show.
been played, yeah. How could it be forgotten once you've heard it?
I forgot that we played it. Okay. All right, Brian. I guess I'm up.
It's like, is there a single listener who doesn't know what happens in Antichrist or Irreversible? I mean,
I'm
is
just
there?
writing. I'm just writing N word. I'm not writing the actual word. I just wrote N space word. All right, you fucking snowflakes, don't come after me.
Wow.
Snowflakes. Why do snowflakes have to be white? Huh? Interesting. That's the problem with cream. That's the trouble with cream.
I don't get that.
Little Bert Kreischer joke. All right,
Yeah.
you hear that bit? The coffee bit there, Avery.
I think I have, but it's been a while.
Maybe I told you about it. All right, here we go. Number 4 for me, right?
Sure.
Avery. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm getting thrown off by your 10. So I think
it throws everybody off. All right, my number 4 is.
I mean, I'm a simple person.
The aforementioned Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It is the newest to my list, obviously. It came out in 2019. Not only does this movie have Clu Galuger, I hope I'm saying that right. He's of course, the director of that short film that I absolutely loved from a number of years ago. Oh, I think it's actually the film came from 1969, but I discovered it like 10 years ago called The Boys. Or A Day with the Boys. Remember that one, Brian? Oh, so good. A Day with the Boys. Look that up on YouTube if you guys want a fun little like 7-minute jaunt into what made a short film back in yesteryear.
That was assigned to me back in the good old days. We were assigning films.
So good, right? Clu Galuger directed that. He's also got a small role as a bookstore man in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Kurt Russell is also in this, as well as here we go. Who else is in this movie? A man named Brad Pitt.
Oh.
As well as the aforementioned Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, Emile Hirsch. You got Timothy Oliphant over there. Austin Butler has become a much bigger star since then. Dakota Fanning, Bruce Dern, Luke Perry no longer with us, Al Pacino, and I'll leave it at that.
Who's the chick from Girls? She's in this.
Margaret Qualley.
No, Avery.
Oh, that's Margaret Qualley plays Pussycat, and she actually is based on a real character, which I learned from Chaos. And Margaret Qualley, her is the daughter of Andy McDowell. I think I want to say. I said Bruce Dern, right? I said Bruce Dern.
I think that is true.
I think that's true as well. Samantha Robinson, Brian.
No, it's Lena
Lorenzo
Dunham.
Izzo?
Lena Dunham's
Lena Dunham's in this?
Yeah, she plays one of the girls, right? Manson girls.
Did she?
I really thought so.
Oh, it's 3 times in theater and twice at home. I've seen this 5 times. I don't remember seeing Lena Dunham.
Oh, well, I really thought so.
And I usually recognize her when I see her. I'm not familiar with girls because I'm a boy. I don't know. How do you spell her name?
I've never seen a moment of Girls, so I can't say.
How do you spell her name, though?
Lena, Lena.
Oh, my God. She plays Gypsy. Brian's right. I hate this.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, she's right there.
Rewind history 1 minute and be done.
That's unfortunate.
That's the best moment I did. Can we stop the show?
Plays Gypsy, and she's got like speaking roles and stuff. Son of a bitch! How did I not realize that was her?
Yeah, she has a small but like notable role.
Wait,
I think she's one of the girls who's like yelling when Tex Watson gets his ass kicked. Oh no, not Tex, the other guy, the tire guy.
The tire iron guy. Okay.
All right. I'll be quick about it because it's
who played Froggy in this movie?
No.
Harley Quinn Smith. That's her fucking name. Harley Quinn Smith.
That's Kevin Smith's daughter.
It is not.
Yes, it is.
Harley Quinn Smith?
Yes, Kevin Smith. Name is Harley Quinn.
I was thinking you said, okay, this show is off the rails. I thought you were saying
I'm telling you a true fact.
I thought you were saying Will Smith, and I'm looking at her white skin saying that's not his daughter.
Kevin Smith, the once rotund director, now who apparently has AIDS.
Does he? Oh, Brian.
He's very thin.
That's really rude. I wish you would not do that.
It's a chronic illness.
Tasteful.
Distasteful.
I have cancer, you motherfuckers.
Doesn't give you the right to just say whatever the fuck.
It does, actually. It kind of does.
Dakota Fanning crushed it as Squeaky. She really did.
Or just musing on the IMDb page at this point?
No, I already named her, and now that I'm looking at his harem, one of the guys in Chaos, not to keep going back to Chaos, but his defense as to, because he was accused, I think in court or maybe in deposition, that Charlie Manson paid him with his ladies, and this guy who was denying this said, no, I never had sex with any of them. They're ugly. Look at them. I was married to a beautiful woman. I didn't touch any of his ugly women.
That's the record producer guy, right?
Yeah, it's the guy that they're.
Oh, he is a piece of work.
you're breaking up badly. Your Max Headroom is back. But Brian,
No,
the guy
he's
who
a
they were
piece of work,
originally
is what I'm saying.
trying to, as the story goes, they were trying to kill him. They went to his old residence, but he didn't live there anymore. And Sharon Tate and Folger were there, right? Roman Polanski's place.
Right.
The guy that actually used to live there that they were initially trying to kill, they have it on record that he went to, the guy they were trying to kill went to Spawn Ranch twice after the murders happened. What the fuck is that?
Just to say, hey,
I don't like how you were trying to kill me. That was kind of rude.
hey, I've been meaning to clear this up. Hey, is Dennis Wilson mentioned at all?
Oh, heavily.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Implicitly.
all
A
right.
lot of that. Yep.
Poor-
Yep.
poor
He's one of
Dennis.
the golden three. What are they called? Like the three golden penises or some shit? Don't they
I'm not
have
there
some-
yet, unless I
Oh,
missed
my.
that part.
I think that's pretty early on because it's that group. It's Dennis Wilson, that record producer, and somebody else, and they're called like the three golden dicks or something. They're self-proclaimed.
Doesn't maybe that does not sound for.
And the
telling you, I'm
golden
not
dick
picking up
goes
most of
too.
them. All right, here we go. And the golden dick goes too. Very good, Brian.
Number 2 for me. It's a movie it's come once or twice on this show, so I'll be as brief as I can about the masterpiece that is Black Hawk Down. Oh, the cast. The only reason this doesn't get the love it should get in terms of casting, everyone looks the same. They're all buzz cut, wearing uniforms and helmets and sunglasses and whatnot. So it is hard to tell sometimes who is who, but we're looking at Josh Hartnett, Ewan McGregor, Eric Bana, Tom Sizemore, William Fichtner, Jason Isaac, Sam Shepard, Jeremy Piven, Ian Gruffold, Ewan Bremner, Hugh Danzy, Tom Hardy in his first film role, Orlando Bloom, Ty Burrell, and Kim Coates.
Mm-hmm.
Great cast.
That movie could be called Hot White Guys.
I know. I was just, you know what I was thinking?
Chiseled jaw, white fellas.
We don't have any black guys on our list or black lady. Oh, that's not true. I had Viola Davis was on there as well as Don Cheadle. Okay.
I number 5 is The Dark Knight.
Right, Brian. Number 3 for me is I fucked up and forgot to
Morgan Freeman's in there.
I'll do 2 here and then I'll just have 1 left as it were. So number 3 for me. I don't know how this didn't make my list. I think maybe I was trying to ease off the True Romance. Maybe this is a movie that was banned and I was adhering to those rules and now I'm no longer adhering to them. But True Romance absolutely belongs on this list of great ensemble casts. Listen to this cast.
This is your new number 2?
My new number 3. Christian Slater, you got Patricia Arquette, Val Kilmer, Dennis Hopper, Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt again. And he's just the roommate sitting on the couch, smoking weed out of the teddy bear honey pot. Bronson Pinchot, Christopher Walken, Samuel L. Jackson. Hell yes. Michael Rappaport, Saul Rubnick, James Gandolfini. Got the Chris Penn over there, and sorry, Giovanni, but Tom Sizemore was in this movie, and I am saying his name. I know you have opinions about Tom Sizemore. Okay, great.
I will break form and say that is my new number 1. True Romance.
Is it?
It is. True Romance is my new number 1. Everything Anderson mentioned is correct, along with the bold choice to cast Christian Slater as the main guy in this otherwise violent drama action movie. That is, Christian Slater was kind of a Heath Ledger-esque heartthrob, I guess, up to this point. So casting was a bit,
Yeah, a little more lightweight.
yeah, but exactly. Not thought of as Clarence Worley. But here we are, and he was great. The whole cast is great. Do you know that Kevin Corrigan makes an appearance in this?
Yeah, I could have gone deeper, but I'm just looking at the top page, which I think does suffice. With as far as what I'm trying to do here.
I love this movie. I had this on Blu-ray and I fucking left it, I think, at a girl's house, and I have no idea where it is now.
Carano has my copy, so I feel your pain. But this is I don't know why it wasn't on either one of our lists back when we last did it, Brian. Maybe some of these people have gotten bigger, but these guys were all big names at the time. So I don't know what the hell we were thinking. I don't get
Maybe
it.
it came up too much at the time. I have no idea, but worthy inclusion.
What were you saying about who was okay?
What?
You said something that I was going to say something else, but it's fine. It's good. I'm okay.
Kevin Corrigan is probably what I said.
You probably did. All right. So number 2 for me, I guess I'm just doing like my number 2 and number 1. These are the 2 that I think are actually more impressive than True Romance, believe it or not. One is way back to 1963. Obviously, I had seen this when we last did the list. I don't know why I didn't include it. Wasn't even on my also rans. Maybe it just didn't occur to me, but it's a mad, 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 mad world from 1963. I saw this twice in film school, and then I've seen it a couple times since. Despite the fact that it's 3.5 hours long, I recommend It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
I've never seen this, but the whole thing is the casting, right?
A lot of it is the casting. I wouldn't say the whole thing. There's a lot of great set pieces and action sequences and stunt scenes. And this is what led to Rat Race, which you probably have seen with Seth Green.
But it's effectively every major comedic actor or actress of the time in one movie.
Spencer Tracy, Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Ethel Merman, Mickey Rooney, Dick Shaw, Phil Silvers, and Jonathan Winters, Edie Adams, and then other names that I'm sure were huge at the time, but I don't recognize them. But I'm just yelling off the names that I recognize. You got Peter.
Is Ronald Reagan in this?
I don't think so. You got Buster Keaton, Don Knotts, Carl Reiner. Again, he's in a lot of these. A few that are on the Three Stooges. All three of them. They're all in there. And then yeah, that's.
I don't think you could make a movie like this today with the same amount of star power. That's comedic.
Could you? I'm trying to think of who could bring. Wes Anderson could do this.
Huh.
And I'm not joking. Like, I think he could.
Yeah.
You're right. If there's anyone born to pull this off.
And boy, it would be funny.
We're not smart enough. We're not smart enough. So that's my number 2. Argument could be made that it's number 1. Could be number 1. But for me, for this list, what I have as my number 1 is another movie that shamefully was not on my list last time. It was on my also rants. I don't know why it didn't sneak into my top 5, but that is The Player. The Player is my number.
Oh yeah, on my also rants.
All these years later, you got it was really big names of the time too, but listen to these names. Tim Robbins.
This is 92-ish.
92. Fred Ward, Whoopi Goldberg, Peter Gallagher, Brian James, who's the guy from his character actor. He's in Blade Runner. He's the guy that says, "Wake up, time to die," which was a thing that my brother and I said to each other quite a bit back then. Vincent D'Onofrio, Dean Stockwell, Richard E. Grant, who we just saw in Saltburn earlier this year or last year, Sidney Pollack, Lyle Lovett. Who else? Anyone else? Gina Gershon.
And there's a lot of cameos too. I don't know if this what you're saying represents a lot of them, but a lot of this takes place on like a studio lot,
right?
And as such, you're getting a lot of cameos from recognizable stars.
Such as Richard Anderson, Harry Belafonte playing himself, Karen Black playing herself, Gary Busey playing himself, Charlie Champlin playing himself, Cher playing herself, and Paul Dooley playing himself. Paul Dooley, Peter Falk again. Dennis Franz, Terry Garr. Yeah, it's Jeff Goldblum playing himself, Elliot Gould playing himself, David Alan Grier playing himself way back in 92, Kathy Ireland playing herself, and Jack Lemmon. Yeah, he's playing himself. Look at that. Andy McDowell, she's playing herself. Marlee Matlin playing herself. Malcolm McDowell. This is why it's number 1, guys. This is why it's number 1. Nick Nolte, guess what? He plays himself. But these are they're all paid actors. Burt Reynolds playing himself. Julia Roberts playing herself. Mimi Rogers playing herself. Susan Sarandon, Rod Steiger, both playing themselves. Lily Tomlin, Robert Wagner, Jesus Christ. And finally, Bruce Willis playing himself.
I got to go back and revisit this movie. I've not seen it in many years.
It's a scathing account of the inside the Hollywood system.
It was very different than I thought it would be. I saw that for the first time this year, and I enjoyed it, but it was not what I expected in terms of tone.
Really? Well, it was kind of a noir, right? Like Tim Robbins is effectively being stalked by a potential killer.
Yeah, I mean, he might have done something naughty, and he's got some inner feelings about that, and he was trying to run from his past and some. It's about getting a leg up in the system and what it takes and what people are willing to do, right?
Yeah, I did not realize it would be almost as satirical.
Oh yeah,
as it is.
Robert,
it's very tongue in cheek, very satirical, very dark comedy. Todd Haynes did May December. Is that Todd Haynes?
Yeah,
it felt a little bit little Todd in there.
Robert Altman was blacklisted from the Hollywood system. Hollywood hated him. Actors loved him. And I remember it was really hard seeing his movies because they just didn't get theatrical release. Like he was blackballed. But every actor wanted to work for Robert Altman, so it's this weird dichotomy. And Paul Thomas Anderson was like his ghost director towards the end there. He learned Paul Thomas Anderson learned a whole lot from that Robert Altman. But The Player, yes, if you like movies and you like to see the shadier, seedier side of Hollywood and the things that go on with the monsters that are drawn to this business, The Player is, I think, a great example of that. Right?
Well done.
Right?
Oh yeah, it is. It is
totally
gross. It is
Like I
gross.
said, I gotta track this down and watch it again.
Plus, it's the number one ensemble cast according to me. So
Oh, there you go.
If that doesn't move tickets, I don't know what will.
come on now, come on now. All right.
Hey, Avery, do we have a top 5 from the listeners?
We do, from the always and forever Mitch
This is
Burns.
sad. This is really sad hearing that. That's the last time we're going to hear that. That makes me sad. That really, truly does.
It
Mitch,
does.
once again, thank you very much for all the hard work that you put into this program week in, week out. Totally get it. I totally understand stepping away. I had to do it with cinematics just last year, but you will be missed, and I can be sad. I'm allowed to be sad.
Oh yeah, 100%. Number 5. There's a tie at number 5.
You sounded
Man-
African right there. Well, yes, 100%. I'm the one. You got an accent. It was very strange.
Maybe it was the internet was breaking up. Number 5, American Hustle and JFK.
Yeah.
Number 4, Boogie Nights and The Departed.
All right.
Number 3, Outright, is Glengarry Glen Ross. That movie's so good. If you haven't seen that, what are you doing? Number 2, The Breakfast Club and Clue.
Ooh.
Clue feels like a very Brian pick.
Clue, we just saw it
Yeah.
first time last year.
Yeah, we just saw this.
And number 1 is Ocean's 11. And then Mitch's pick, which
Yes.
I completely agree with, is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. In Mitch's opinion, nothing has been more well cast with perfect acting for such a large ensemble across 3 films. You got Viggo Mortensen, Ian McKellen, Brad Dourif, Christopher Lee, and even fucking Orlando Bloom. I was an extreme hipster the past 2 weekends and watched all 3 extended editions.
Dude, how many times did you fall asleep?
Enjoyable.
How many times did you fall asleep?
Not a single time.
Really?
I got dusty.
You mean at the trees were walking?
I got dusty upwards of 20 times.
It's quite a cartoon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Quite the animated film.
I can't get enough of these.
I liked the first one quite a bit. The second one was exceptionally boring to me, and then the third one was a feat, and I appreciated it quite a bit. But I don't know if unless Atticus is just begging, I don't know.
No, they are astounding feats of cinema.
A lot of cartoon stuff going on in there. A lot of cartoon. Right?
And how?
I mean, The Simpsons were a cartoon.
Yeah, all cartoon. Purist.
That's right. All right, you want to gamble and wrap this bitch up?
Let's do it.
Yes. So last week we gambled on Lisa Frankenstein. Anderson gets 53, Bryan 58 with 120 reviews. The actual Rotten Tomatoes score is 50%. Making Anderson
brutal.
the winner.
What is it? This is for for Florence's favorite movie, Frankenstein.
Lisa Frankenstein.
Lisa Frankenstein.
And this week we have a choice.
While we're talking about Frankenstein, let me indulge. 1 second. Sorry. Eric Holmes sends me like memes and little like pictures and funny things quite a bit. My buddy Eric Holmes, and he sent me one just the other day, and I won't pull it up. I should, but it's the very last page of the book, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and it just ends, and then somebody in the book wrote, and then as he drifted off on the boat, his parting words were, "It's okay if you call me Frankenstein instead of Frankenstein's monster." The end.
Nice.
And that made me laugh.
That's
Looking at my
very
dumb
good.
phone, laughing in a waiting room.
That's very good.
Okay.
That's enjoyable. We have a choice this week. We can either gamble on the biggest movie coming out is Madam Web, but the one that's had a lot more playtime on this show is My Life is for People.
Oh
And that is
God,
coming out as
those
well.
both come out this week.
Both come out on Valentine's Day.
Shit.
T-Mobile Tuesday is offering $5 tickets to My Life is the People. My life is for the people.
That's a
Love.
steal, guys. That's a steal.
They should be paying you.
All right, I think we do My Life is for the People because it's been such a big part of the show the last few weeks, right?
Yeah, no one cares about Madame Web.
I'll spoil
you
it.
kidding me?
I'll
There's a
spoil.
man- There's a man named Giovanni who's hearing this right now, and he's very upset with you.
I'll spoil the score for Madam Web. Do you guys want to guess just for fun?
The trailer was amongst the worst things I've ever seen.
I agree.
So is One Love, but this looks like it's 35.
35. You're going 35.
I'm going 38.
It is with 60 reviews. It's sitting at 17%.
Oh, wow.
It's just, I mean, her friends alone.
Wow.
That's the skateboard girl there. That's the sassy one there. And they're all wearing brand new shiny clothes. It just looks like a student film with a
I don't even know if they give Sydney Sweeney a line in the trailer. It's bizarre.
But I mean, the action sequence looked, cool. If it was like 5 years ago, we're also spoiled now. But I mean, that action sequence in the diner is pretty cool. But the premise just, and you know what? I'm familiar with the Madame Web from the 1990s cartoon, and she is nothing like what I'm seeing on the screen there. Okay, she's an old woman who's like a sage. Who maybe this is her origin story, but the Madame Web from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon is fucking sweet. That is not this.
No, that's Bob Marley, One Love, which is sweet.
Oh, God.
My life is.
We got to guess on this.
Yeah, I got a number and I'm ready.
Fucking dog. All right, I got a number.
So on 3. 1, 2, Sidney Crosby.
48.
Ooh.
Sidney Crosby on 87.
I am.
Oh,
You're
wow.
You're going 87.
87. That's right.
Okay.
I would guess half that.
Okay.
Avery, look yet. I don't like your reaction to this, Avery.
With 55 reviews, the current Rotten Tomatoes score is 40%.
Shit. I thought that this would be a little bit critic proof.
Oh, no.
I was hoping at best this was going to squeak out like a 60, 62.
Yeah,
we've been joking about this trailer for
it
months.
doesn't look good to us. We're very discerning and we're mean and just.
But I could see it being good enough for this time of the year. I could have seen this being like 62.
No.
I think I got to see it. I think it's penance for how much I've talked about. I think I got to see
Hey,
it.
this is our watch along this month. Let's sneak phones in.
I'm not a giant Bob Marley. We've been through this, but my biggest problem with this is he just does not embody Bob Marley. My idea of what Bob Marley is.
It's an SNL sketch.
Everything I know about Bob Marley is like old Bob Marley when he's all tired and like completely stoned all the time. Maybe this is like a younger version of Bob Marley. I don't know.
Where he's shirtless dancing in a waterfall.
Bob, they try to kill you and your wife.
I like the pregnant pause.
And you're going to stage a peace concert? My life is be
Oh my
one
God.
best down there.
87.
87.
The best is the pregnant pause where it's just like, what do you hope to accomplish?
I love the pregnant pause. I think I love this movie.
I think I might. Oh, I got to see this.
It's like 2.5 hours or something, right?
No, it's only an hour 45. I'm seeing this Friday.
I'm seeing that.
I'm seeing this Friday.
We are going to be talking about this movie next week. I'm going to be talking about Rebel and My Life is for the People.
My life is.
Oh my God, is it at least short?
It's
hour 45.
I get out of here. I got to go pick up my son. I have abandoned my child.
And take him to a One Love.
Yeah, we're gonna go see it together.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable.
If I did that, like he's just trying to grow dreads as a 7-year-old and pretending to smoke giant spliffs. Oh my God, can you imagine? I made a huge mistake, honey. I took our son to One Love, and now he wants to be a Rastafari at 87.
I got to admit, the listener art by Zach Robinson is making me chuckle. The smile on my face belies what is otherwise a very serious subject.
Yes, and speaking of which, we're running low on the listener art, so contact tfb@gmail.com. Shoot us at listener art, and if you're one of those people who's less artistically inclined like me, try some AI, little AI listener art.
The tagline at the top is fantastic. I think that might have been an assessment of the film.
That is what the film is, right? Is Oppenheimer even threatening your Volties at all, Bri?
No.
It's not I'm 10 deep. I don't know if it would make top 20. I think probably top 20, but I don't know. I'm wrong. Maybe I need to go back.
I don't know. I'm alone in my friend group. My buddy has seen it 6 times.
What?
6 times.
How many times?
18 hours.
Pillars of the Flower Moon. How many times has he seen that?
I think only once, maybe twice.
How many times has he seen The Beekeeper?
None, but I'm sure he would love it.
All right, thanks, Zach Robinson. Great listener art. Thanks to Greater Pacific. They are our featured artists of the week. Check them out, AndersonandBryan.com. And continue to tap the banner, the link for Amazon, if you please. We appreciate it. Over there, AndersonandBryan.com. That's the website. Anderson and Bryan is the Instagram. Anderson and Bryan on TikTok. The Film Vault on Facebook. The Film Vault on Twitter. The Film Vault podcast on YouTube.com. Thanks, Mitch Burns. Oh, so bittersweet. Giovanni, Mike Cole, and Eric Kath. We appreciate you guys a lot. Check us out over on Patreon at the Film Vault if you want to find more fun ways to support the show. And that's all I got.
All right. Well, we do it for Van Gogh.